6:02 on your Thursday morning, January the 5th. Welcome in, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head, as we get you up and going, get you ready here on a Thursday. We start to close out the first full week of January. A lot of college basketball that we'll get into from last night. Very entertaining night of college basketball, I should say. I was fully immersed all night into the college basketball scene. There was a ton of really great games to get involved with, a ton of things that were taking place, some just excellent games. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Started getting you ready. South Carolina, Tennessee on Thursday. Excuse me, on today's Thursday. South Carolina, Tennessee on Saturday at 3:30 tonight. The women take on Auburn over at Colonial Life Arena. We'll also have some Lamont, Paris, Carolina Falls. So plenty of basketball going on around here that we will discuss as well. Last a very good night on the college basketball scene, and again, as I just mentioned, some entertaining outcomes, some entertaining contests, some entertaining outcomes. We'll get into a little bit of a full big picture college basketball look here this morning as we roll through the program. And then we'll also get into some college football. Some interesting news coming out last night as it pertains to South Carolina and a defensive end, Jordan Birch, thebigspur.com, JC Sherbert, who not joining us today. We'll get him back starting next week for his weekly segments as we kind of transition into the new year. But Jordan Birch, according to JC Sherbert, will likely transfer from the University of South Carolina and find a new destination. And we'll get into that. We'll get into not so much about Jordan Birch in particular, but the loyalty aspect of college football. And there's going to be, I think, a lot of you who say loyalty is overrated, maybe, that it really doesn't matter. It is the kid's decision, and they've got the look, in my opinion, college football, or I should say college athletes, but college football more so than maybe any other athlete, they have all the power now. A college football player can really hold a athletic department ransom if they want, basically saying, you pay me this or I'll go find another program with which to play for. That they'll pay me this. Doesn't matter who, because, and I've thought about this a lot last night since JC Sherbert put out his update, roughly at about 7 o'clock, I reckon, is when that come out. And JC Sherbert reporting again that Jordan Birch is planning to leave the University of South Carolina, and that's fine. The young man should be allowed to do what he wants. It's a free country. What surprises me with a Jaheim Bell, with a Marshawn Lloyd, with a Jordan Birch, they're draft eligible. What are you? I mean, why would you not just go pro? Why would you just not go ahead and get out and head pro? Tyler, who is Tyler Head, who's now joined the program and is a part of it, helps Jen, helps me, cuts some audios, done a good job. He's got some audio for us this morning from Jordan Birch when he was getting ready for the bowl game. We'll play that for you a little bit and listen to it again. I don't want to come down on Jordan Birch. That's not what the program. That's not what we're going with it about. But as I got Tyler to put up on our Twitter account, 1075 the game, is there loyalty in college football? That's where we'll go this morning with that, because that is kind of what I'm interested in. It's not just at South Carolina. Somebody put out the stat the other day. Texas A&M has 27 transfers for the Aggies. So we'll get into that a little bit this morning and kind of discuss that with you if you want to be a part of the program. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in this morning if you want to do that. You can go to the live stream as always. Go to youtube.com, search, click, join, subscribe, hop in the chat. RL, Travis, Decor, DC all up and ready to go this morning. Travis asking about a tweet from Patrick Perrette yesterday about if Jim Harbaugh were to leave Michigan, Shane Beamer's name might be attached to it. We'll talk about that as well. I really don't. It's not that I don't put stock in it. I just wouldn't worry too much about it. But we'll discuss that as well. So a lot to get into this morning. A big college basketball night last night. Tyler, a lot of great games. Providence and Connecticut. Got a chance to watch a little bit of Devin Carter last night. Missouri, Arkansas. High-level basketball games. Finally back into the college basketball swing of things as we count down to the final college football game of the year.
Yeah, no, the replay of the Missouri-Arkansas game's on right now, and that was a game that Missouri controlled for pretty much the first 3/4 of the game. Then Arkansas came storming back in that second half and put together a big victory for them. But yeah, great night of college basketball. Georgia with an upset over Auburn that in their 12-game SEC losing streak. So yeah, back in the full swing of a really good competitive basketball.
So we'll get into a little bit of that, give you a kind of a rundown last night. A couple of upsets in college basketball. Home teams prevalent last night, as Tyler just talked about. Again, he just mentioned Georgia, who actually looks pretty good. Watched a good bit of that game. They knocked off Auburn last night. Auburn ranked 22nd in the country. Georgia defeats them last night. North Carolina State throttles Duke up in Raleigh, 84-60 last night. Duke ranked 16th in the country. Georgia Tech, unranked, knocks off number 12 Miami. Georgia Tech, NC State, and Georgia, all home teams last night. And Providence, also, again, as I mentioned, winning. So you had 4 teams there, unranked, that knocked off ranked teams. The 4 unranked teams all home. So it gives you a good idea as we go through. I think the parity in college basketball continues to be at an all-time high. Again, if you want to be a part of the program this morning, 803 404 6100 is how you can do that. Coming up at 7:30 this morning, we will get in touch with Perry Orth. He will weigh in not just on what he saw at the end of the season from Spencer Rattler and from South Carolina football, the bowl game, but we'll get his take as a former college player on the transfer portal, on the NIL, and what he sees. It seems like forever ago that Perry Orth was in college. It really does start to seem that way. 2016 was his senior year, but it's not that long ago. And man, it's amazing how much to say that college football has changed just within the last 7 years since he departed and where we stand today going into 2023. We'll catch up with him at 7:30 this morning. 8:15, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider will join us. We'll talk a little college football national championship game, TCU and Georgia. We'll get his pick for that. Also get the final weekend of NFL picks out there and see what he has to say. And then he will also offer a couple picks there as it pertains to college basketball this coming weekend. Again, 803 404 6100, how you can be a part of the program. One other topic we'll touch on today, this morning, and I don't want to make it a soccer discussion because it's not going to be a soccer discussion, but the mother, Danielle Reyna, if you haven't seen the story, I'm trying to process it. So I don't know how much we will discuss this morning. And it might be more of a parenting discussion about the links you go to defend your kids. Jen, you've got your kids, or your children are older than mine. Mine are currently going through middle school cheerleading,
Mhm.
and Austin's 10 and soccer. And this story yesterday, again, it's not so much a sports story to me per se, as much as maybe a parenting story. I'm trying to process it. If you haven't seen it, Danielle Reyna, whose son is Gio Reyna, a very good young soccer player for the United States. The father is Claudio Reyna, who was a really good soccer player for the United States. They were not pleased with how their son was treated, I should say. They were not pleased with his role in the World Cup recently. So she turned over a domestic violence incident that she knew about from 31 years ago, 32 years ago, 1991, against the head coach, Greg Berhalter, of the United States men's soccer team. And again, this isn't about soccer. It's kind of about parenting in general, which is it's
Yeah.
a very strange story because these families have basically grown up together.
Mhm.
They were best friends. They were best friends, and how you would handle a situation with your child, with a friendship, if they weren't treated correctly. Again, it's not I want to be clear about it. It's not a soccer story. It's kind of a parenting. There's it's a
So
very
she's mad her child is grown, her son is grown
mm-hmm,
and played in the World Cup.
mm-hmm.
She doesn't like maybe the amount of play time he got or something like that as an adult. So she is bringing up a domestic abuse story from 30 years ago to punish the coach.
They did not. She says, while in Qatar, I shared my frustrations about my son's World Cup experience with a number of close friends. This is what the father said, because the father's involved to Claudio Reyna. Again, if you don't know USA soccer, it's kind of not even relevant here. But this is Claudio saying, however, at no time did I ever threaten anyone, nor would I do so, is a statement that Claudio Reyna put out yesterday. Again, his son Gio was informed he was going to have a limited role at the tournament. Apparently, he didn't handle it well in the locker room. There's been some things that have occurred. I don't look at it from the soccer standpoint of should he or should not have he have played. I look at it
Mhm.
again. We've all kind of been there with family or with protecting our kids, but this seems it bothers me on a lot of different levels, and I'm interested to hear other people's opinion of how this was handled by the family.
Yeah, I have a real problem with that. I mean, it's one thing to defend your kid because I mean, we went through a time where there was a coach and who historically played favorites, like that was just a known thing and I felt as though our son wasn't treated fairly and I, try to be optimistic, but I would never, and we tried not to ever really approach coaches either because it's like, okay, this is their domain whether we agree or not, we're gonna let them do their thing, but there were some blatant things, it's like, okay, we did approach the coach on something, but never would I have said, "Oh, I knew that he did such and such," and would have gone out and said something in public about like, that's no, that it's apples and oranges, it has nothing to do, like you said, with soccer, you're talking about somebody's life outside of that, and I that's horrible.
Yeah, and again, Greg Berhalter and his wife have been married. I mean, this incident occurred in 1991 when they were dating and they were in college,
So
and
irrelevant to what the son was doing, and at this point, I mean, I'm talking, my
mm,
son was not even in high school yet. So if we were approaching the coach because we were concerned about maybe some inequities or something like that, that's one thing to have that conversation. But this is a grown man now. He's playing pro sports. Really? That she still thinks that she needs to do that?
yeah, and as RL says on our live stream, it's weird that they were good with the accusations for 3 decades up until their son didn't get preferential
Exactly.
treatment.
Thank you.
It's again, it's not. This is
Wow.
not a soccer story to me. It's a
Mm-mm.
more of a parenting story almost, and I'm kind of interested to hear the
Stay in your
feedback.
lane, mom.
So 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. You can join us on the Firehouse Subs text line. You can also hit us up via the Love Chevrolet phone lines. A couple of you already weighing in again because just interesting topics this morning to kind of get into. One, the loyalty aspect of sports now. I mean, look, this can happen. The transfer portal, NIL, can happen in soccer. It can happen in women's softball. It can happen, in college basketball. And obviously, we're seeing it more blatantly right now in college football. And Anonymous Texture weighs in and says the NIL is ruining college football. It's really getting to be more a free agency. I don't like the direction it's going. Do you think any changes will be made to the transfer portal? We'll discuss that in the next segment. Billy from Blythewood saying open market free enterprise. That's the American way. Coach has been able to do it. So why shouldn't the kids? The problem is now it's going to be a bidding war. Best players are going to go where the money is. Kind of reminds me of the years when there were no scholarship limitations and big schools like Bama and Texas could just hoard as many talented players as they want to keep everybody else from getting. Bottom line, the rich are getting richer unless your star has a sense of royalty. We'll get into that a little bit this morning. Again, get into what is more of, I think, a parenting issue with the Reyna family story and Berhalter from USA Soccer. We'll talk some college basketball. Was really good there. Get you a little bit of audio. Got a lot to do this morning. Already running behind on the first segment. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
I think you're going to see some Bryles, run and pass game concepts. You're going to see some NFL stuff, and you're going to see tempo. And all those things, I think, are things that Shane Beamer likes and wants it to be about. We also know that having pro elements is something he's interested in. That checks that box. NFL experience. He is the hire. So now I think you have to judge him on what happens from this point forward as South Carolina's offensive coordinator, as opposed to, what happened in the past, because in about an hour, it's going to be officially official.
The Extra Point
with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
We have a car versus deer incident, Clemson Road at Hardscrabble Road, or between Hardscrabble and Longtown Road. Again, that's Clemson Road between Hardscrabble and Longtown. Also, a report of an accident, Augusta Highway near Fontaine Road. And a little bit of construction could be impacting traffic on I-26 westbound around the Chapin exit, but that should be clearing out here shortly. Your forecast for today, mostly sunny, 68 for the high, and then tomorrow, 59 under sunshine, sunny skies for Saturday, and a high of 61. Right now, though, 52 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. Bengals coach Zach Taylor recalls that following Damar Hamlin's collapse, he met with his Bills counterpart Sean McDermott, and the first thing he said was, "I need to be at the hospital with Damar. I shouldn't be coaching this game." Taylor added, he really showed who he was. All his focus was on Damar. Crisis reveals character, folks. It truly does. I'm Boomer Esiason.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Nothing fights the winter blues like a delicious and satisfying meal. Luckily, Omaha Steaks makes it easy to stock up and fill your freezer with flavor. Save on perfectly portioned favorites, easy meals, and so much more with Omaha Steaks Freezer Filler Sale. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code SIZZLE at checkout and get $30 off your order. That's $30 off an endless variety of gourmet choices. Visit omahasteaks.com, use promo code SIZZLE at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Did you know that since 2002, more than 2.4 million lottery-funded scholarships such as Life Hope and Palmetto Fellow scholarships have been awarded to South Carolina students? Playing for fun is a win for education. Visit saeducationlottery.com/educationwins for more info.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right. We'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929 for more details.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we know how serious injuries change people's lives. I'm Jason Reynolds. When you're involved in a major car or truck accident, my team is on your side. You don't have to be alone. Let's do this together.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, my team is with you from start to finish. We're people with a passion for helping injured workers. Bring your case to us and stop the worrying. We've got this.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. How? By distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Dodgeland on Greystone doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of. JT's Dodgeland on Greystone. JT'sDodge.com.
I'm starting the new year by making my home feel like new with the advanced cleaning of Zerorez. Take advantage of their New Year sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
With COVID-19 still present in our community, the South Carolina Department on Aging hopes you and your loved ones stay safe during this time. We encourage older adults, family caregivers, and adults living with disabilities to learn more about how the COVID-19 vaccine can help protect against severe illness or death. For more information on how to keep you and your family safe, call the national hotline at 1-800-232-0233. That's 800-232-0233.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The Early Game
With Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks.
The Early Game, 1075
The Game.
803-404-6100. How you can weigh in this morning. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head, as we get you up on a Thursday morning and out the door, trying to get you through the first full week of January. And the first full week, really now, I don't think South Carolina is any different. And quite honestly, South Carolina has not been hurt by the transfer portal. But what I think when you see Jaheim Bell, when you see Marshawn Lloyd, and now with the reporting by J.C. Sherbert of thebigspur.com that Jordan Birch is likely going to transfer, I think you see what the transfer portal does. None of these three losses are massive. South Carolina can continue moving forward. These are good football players, mind you. They're good football players. It's just not massive losses. But I think it raises the question, and Tyler has put up a poll question on our Twitter account. You can go to, again, 1075 The Game on Twitter to vote. Is loyalty still a thing in college sports? I asked Tyler to put that up, and then as I continue to read it here out loud, I do wonder, was loyalty ever a thing in college sports? And now, given the opportunity to exploit what is free agency, what is essentially becoming pay for play, kids are taking advantage of it, and they should. And and that's kind of a part of this now. And I think you're seeing it when a player can kind of hold a team hostage, Tyler, and say, hey, either pay me the money or I'm going to transfer.
Right. Yeah. And the one defense people use when talking about this is, 30, 40 years ago, George Rogers, Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson, these guys, weren't holding teams hostage. They weren't doing this. They weren't doing that. Well, they didn't have the option. They didn't have the opportunity. Now we know that, payments under the table and that kind of stuff's been happening for a long time, but now it is out in the public, and the power is certainly in the hands of the players, and they're taking the advantage of the opportunity. And with anything in sports, when you make a rule change, especially in college sports, with something as significant as NIL was when it came into effect a couple years ago, there's always going to be unintended consequences. I didn't think we'd see players getting paid in the millions as often as we do in college sports now. I know that number figure was floated out a few weeks ago about Drake May, being offered like $5 million by certain teams. That I guess ended up not being true, but still that number figure is floating out there for a lot of these guys. And it's just something that's continuing to progress, and now we're seeing it affect South Carolina.
Again, to go back to this, and a couple of you've got a good point. Jonathan weighing in on our Firehouse Subs text line says, DeCarrion Joyner proved loyalty is a thing. And that's good. That's where we kind of should go with this. There are kids, and maybe that's what makes this more, that's what will make us respect a DeCarrion Joyner more. You look across at some of the offensive linemen that have stuck around and participated. We'll see kind of how I think this changes our narrative of players that play for our program. Let's be perfectly clear. South Carolina's benefited from a Juice Wells being really good at James Madison. Juice Wells was a very talented player. Go look at his stats and what he did at James Madison. And South Carolina benefited because he wanted to maybe, I don't know if it was necessarily NIL related, but he wanted to play at a bigger name program, wanted to get his name out there a little bit. I do think it worked this past year. It's a little shame that his bowl game went the way it did. He didn't get over 1,000 yards receiving for the season. But with that being said, South Carolina's benefited. Same thing with Jordan Strachan, who's coming back. Jordan Strachan led the nation in sacks at Georgia State, and South Carolina benefited from that because he wanted to play at a bigger name program. Now, I don't know if Jordan Burt's going to Oklahoma, if indeed Marshawn Lloyd going to Maryland. Look, I don't know if Florida State was a tremendous program. Past tense, they're trying to get back to being a big name program. But the bottom line is they're not there yet. 10 wins, very nice this year. But Florida State is not necessarily a better program than South Carolina is right now. And you look at how this has kind of played out. Again, it's the loyalty thing. And I'll give you the example of loyalty. And I'm not saying that Jordan Burch needs to have any. I don't care what he does. I want him to do what he considers best for him. Same thing with Marshawn Lloyd. Same thing with Jaheim Bell. But Jordan Burch is a little bit different because he's a homegrown kid. He's a kid from South Carolina, from Hammond. And I think that's what strikes people a little bit different. All right, Jaheim Bell elected to transfer back to Florida State. Was it NIL driven? Yeah, it seems that way. That's all right. Go do it, young man. I'm all for it. Marshawn Lloyd, I do find it strange, though, we've not heard a single thing about Marshawn Lloyd and where he may end up. At least Gilbert Edmond is currently taking a visit to Florida State this weekend. By the way, very strange that he would wear his South Carolina gear on the start of his Florida State visit. That doesn't make any sense to me, but do what you got to do, young man. Be dressed when you show up. Otherwise, it gets very awkward. But it is strange. But Jordan Burch is a local kid playing for the local university. Could be a local superstar, regardless of how his career goes. A guy that people are always talking about because he came and he's helped. Don't get it twisted now. Jordan Burch has helped South Carolina turn this program around. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Richard wants to weigh in this morning on Jordan Burch. Richard, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. You're probably not going to like what I got to say, but
oh boy,
Jordan Burch has never been nothing more than a mediocre football player ever since he got here. He was a five-star guy coming out of high school, and everybody projected him as a can't-miss guy, a second coming to Clowney. And in my opinion, he's been overrated. He's been very mediocre. He's been very average. I'm not sure why all these schools are chasing after him. I don't think he's been that good. Same with Marshawn Lloyd. They've both been very average football players for five-star guys. So, if they want to transfer, good riddance. Jordan Burch is going to go to Oregon, and he's going to disappear. So I hope he likes flying his family 3,000 miles every Saturday to watch him play.
Well, hold on. Let's be honest about it. Part of the transfer, Oregon's going to pay for him to fly. They're pay. I mean, that's going to be part of this. They're going to pay for it.
Okay.
If that's indeed what's going to happen.
It's a lot more of a headache to fly every weekend than it is to get in the car and drive.
Well, that's true.
So I hope his family enjoys that.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for the phone call, Richard. I'll say this, in compared to what a five-star is expected to do, I understand what Richard is saying. With that being said, you've spent time. Sterling Lucas spent a whole year. Jordan Burch was playing better. It's a loss. Don't get me wrong. South Carolina's not exactly walking around down there at that football facility with a bunch of edge players that are ready to step in. I will admit what Richard said. Gilbert Edmond, if you had me rank the four guys that are solid football players that have left that you wanted back, that would have been starters next year. Four of them that would have been starters. Jaheim Bell, Gilbert Edmond, Marshawn Lloyd, Jordan Burch. To me, the biggest loss is Gilbert Edmond. Right. He was really developing. Really, really liked him. And that, to me, I kind of shrugged it off as well. You got Burch on one side. Jordan Strachan, I think, is coming back. All right. Gilbert Edmond is, to me, the biggest loss out of the four of those. I really love the way he was developing. And I think of the four, Gilbert Edmond will be the guy in a few years, you'll look and say, man, that guy actually turned into a really good player. I think Marshawn Lloyd can be a really good player. I really do think he's been injured. He's got to get over the injury bug. Jaheim Bell, how good is he? I probably differ than a lot of people. I don't think Jaheim Bell's been all that great. He's had a good game here or there, maybe utilized in the right system. Maybe Jaheim Bell's a really good player. We'll let Tyler weigh in on this. He's here. He hangs around. He gives us some audio. He does a good job. He should be allowed to talk. Jen's getting us through the morning. We got a lot to get into. There's a lot going on that is, I would say, more serious conversation than we typically. Hat's already on backwards here. We got 6:32 in the morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio.
And it's free.
107.5 The Game.
Going out, purchasing a vehicle. Well, it's a commitment. That's a whole different term that we're using this morning, isn't it? It's a commitment. You're going to spend a lot of money on it. You want to find something reliable that's going to take care of your family, get you through those summer vacations, make sure that vehicle gets the kids to football practice or basketball practice, to cheerleading, to dance. Really, you need something that's going to take care of you and your family, be reliable, be there for you. And at Love Chevrolet, they've understood that. They've understood it for over 60 years, making sure that you are comfortable with that brand new purchase, and they want to do it the right way. That's why they've been in business for 60 years. They don't sell above MSRP. They make sure you're getting the best deal possible. They give you the largest selection of vehicles from which to choose from, 14 acres to be exact, over there at Love Chevrolet. And most importantly, they make sure their sales staff is ready to answer your questions and take care of you from the second you drive onto the lot to the minute you leave with that brand new vehicle. Love Chevrolet has been doing it for 60 years, taking care of families just like mine, just like yours, making sure we're content, happy, thrilled with our purchase. No better feeling than driving off the lot, kids in the back seat, turn around, they're smiling, they're happy, everybody's enjoying that brand new car smell. It should be a great experience. And at Love Chevrolet, they understand that. So they make sure that when you come there, not only are you going to have a great experience, but you're going to leave there happy with the brand new purchase you just made. Go find out for yourself. I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
Clemson Road, between Hardscrabble Road and Longtown Road, a car versus deer incident. And we do have an accident reported Augusta Highway near Fontaine Road. So caution in those areas. Sunny and 68 today, 59 tomorrow, 61 for Saturday, 52 right now at 107.5 The Game.
I'm Taylor Vishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Bills safety Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest in Monday night's game against the Bengals. But there is some promising news on his recovery. A family spokesperson says doctors continue to see all the signs they've been hoping to from Hamlin so far, and his recovery is, quote, moving in a positive direction. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor spoke for the first time since Monday night and says he fully supports the decision to postpone the game. He also praised his counterpart, Bills head coach Sean McDermott.
The first thing he said was, I need to be at the hospital tomorrow, and I shouldn't be coaching this game. But in that moment, he really showed who he was, that all his focus was just on Damar and being there for him, being there for his family at the hospital.
McDermott and the Bills did return to the field Wednesday, conducting a brief walkthrough practice. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. Divorce can be complicated, especially if children are involved. If you're a father and want to protect your role in your children's lives, remember Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men with matters like these for 30 years, and we'd love to help you.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Columbia area attorneys. 1201 Main Street, Suite 840, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
The new year is here. Time for a change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand IT field with My Computer Career. In just months, already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus, and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right. We'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
I guess why did you want to play? A lot gets made about the guys who don't and opt out. What made you want to play in this bowl game?
I love my teammates. I love everybody in the building. This is a good opportunity to play again with my teammates. Some seniors won't be here next year, so playing with them. I haven't made one.
When you do kind of sit down and decide what that looks like, what goes into that decision? Who are you going to talk to? What are you going to weigh?
Talk to my mom, my coaches, seeing what's best for me. Seeing how that process works, and then making the best decision.
That's Jordan Burch before the bowl game. Before the bowl game, talking about his decision to play in the Gator Bowl, his decision following the Gator Bowl, how he would address things. I'll be honest, in talking with people, I thought Jordan Burch may very well attempt to go pro. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if Jaheim Bell, Marshawn Lloyd, or Jordan Burch had turned pro. Look, South Carolina fans have seen this. Kelsey Quarles turned pro early. Emmanuel Cook turned pro early. They were good players. Sidney Rice and Co Simpson both got drafted and were really had Sidney Rice obviously had a really good NFL career. Co Simpson kind of flamed out there after a few years in Buffalo. But you've seen guys turn pro where, you went, I don't know. But the bottom line here is you're transferring for 1 year.
Right.
Jordan Travis is going to be the quarterback at Florida State for Jaheim Bell. That may not be a bad decision down there for Jaheim Bell. Now, he's got to get in there. He's got to learn the offense. He's got to adjust in 1 year. Florida State has other playmakers. Jordan Burch is going to – and by the way, let's be clear about this real quick. Jordan Burch's name is not in the transfer portal. This is a report coming out from thebigspur.com last night. So in terms of Jordan Burch, we may be all up in arms about nothing this morning. He may very well change his mindset. So I'm not trying to rail on Jordan Burch as a person. What I'm questioning now is loyalty in college football specifically. And we've got a poll question out, and I asked, is there, or Tyler asked on our Twitter account, go to 107.5 The Game, is there loyalty in college football still? And 83% saying no. Now, technically, you can say yes, there is, because DeCarrion Joyner's just showed it.
Sure.
That there is loyalty.
Just not the overall standard anymore.
Right. So you look at this and you see a situation where kids can kind of hold others hostage but here's the problem I have with it is if what you hear is occurring not just at South Carolina but across the board, where kids are going to athletic departments, whether it's coaches or ADs or somebody in the athletic department, and saying, hey, I've been told I can go to school X and get $2 million next year, and if you don't match it, I'm gone. That's where we draw the line on not liking it, right? That's where college football has changed, and you've got to figure something out.
Yeah, and going back to, I forget what the caller was a few minutes ago. I forget what the caller's name was a few minutes ago, but mentioning that Richard. Okay. So Richard said that, he's figuring that Jordan Burch should go to Oregon and kind of disappear. I don't agree with that. I feel like if you're going to go across the country, get paid however many millions of dollars he would end up getting paid, that there's some kind of plan in place there. And we know, obviously, Dan Lanning being the defensive coordinator at Georgia when Jordan Burch was being recruited, Georgia was one of his finalists. There's got to be some kind of plan in place for Jordan Burch to be a very big part of the Oregon team if he does end up going there. And maybe another factor is trying to improve on his draft stock, because he certainly could be drafted now and probably would go, I don't know, what, mid-round, I guess?
No, he'd
3,
be into the
4?
round. No, not even close.
You don't think
No.
so? So
No, look, Jordan Burch is now the NFL drafts on potential.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. Maybe if he was invited or could go to the combine, maybe he shows off some skills. Jordan Burch's overall production has not been great, but, and I want to be clear about this because I think some people are going to rail about it and say, hey, Jordan Burch, look at his stats. Well, don't just look at his stats, but he has played better as this year has gone along. Are there things he continues to need to improve upon? Yes. Jordan Burch, the football player, South Carolina, he would start at South Carolina next year.
Right.
Okay. He would be a big part of that defensive line. To act otherwise is being asinine and just being bitter about the whole situation. Jordan Burch would be a starter next year.
Right.
He would need, let's also be clear, he would need to continue to improve dramatically. Okay. Jordan Burch as a junior has got to be a lot better. Jordan Burch is a senior. And if he goes to Oregon, he's going to have to play. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know Oregon's roster coming out of the bowl game. Quite frankly, I don't know South Carolina's roster, and I live here, what the roster is going to look like. I have zero clue with transfers and with players declaring what Oregon even looks like on that defensive line. But, again, talking to the people, and Patrick Perrette, who will probably be on with us tomorrow, is our kind of expert there when it comes to the NFL draft. Maybe Jordan Burch will be drafted 6th, 7th round. My assumption, and this is where I go back with this, is if he was going to be drafted and he got his draft grade back,
right,
he would say, hey, I'll go do that and start my NFL career and get into that, as opposed to transferring for 1 year and then hoping I improve. I would assume. I could be wrong on that, but
right.
To me, that's where I don't know what the strategy or plan would be at Oregon. You are right. There is a connection there. For those wondering why it's Oregon and say, well, that's not, no, you're right. It's a good point you make on Dan Lanning being at Georgia when Jordan Burch was being recruited. But, let's not put down Jordan Burch. He got better this year.
Yeah.
He was getting better. And that's the thing that stinks the most about what you're seeing right now. And it's why I kind of ask. Anonymous texter makes a good point. He says you have to start looking at National Signing Day as, okay, we have player X for 1 year, not 3 or 4 years. College programs will only be stepping stones for recruits to transfer to bigger programs. If player A is getting recruited by Alabama and South Carolina, but he knows he won't play year 1 at Alabama, the mindset is, let's go to South Carolina, then transfer to Alabama when I have a better chance to play. And I think that's the bigger picture here, is what you talk about with South Carolina. Jamar Gibbs, big part of Alabama this year, was a huge pickup for Georgia Tech a couple years ago. South Carolina really wanted him. Georgia Tech, Jeff Collins would feel really good about their program this past year. Jeff Collins got fired. If you had one of the best running backs in the country in Jamar Gibbs on your team, guess what? Last year, he looked around and said, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to go where I can win a national championship. Obviously, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and that goes back to the unintended consequences of the transfer portal and the NIL stuff, that now, in addition to having to recruit new guys to come to your program out of high school, you're having to re-recruit pretty much every single guy on your roster, because they're essentially on these 1-year deals, because they do have the flexibility to go wherever they want, whenever they want, without the consequences of having to sit and wait like they used to.
803-404-6100. Obviously, this will be a big topic of conversation. We're not here to put down Jordan Burch. We're glad in college he can do what he wants now. I think the bigger question is how you continue to see this impacting college football across the board. South Carolina has lost some good players. Again, let's be clear, they've lost 4 starters. If you were coming off of an 8-4 season and going to a bowl, and whether you won or lost, and you looked around and said, man, we got Jaheim Bell back, Marshawn Lloyd, Jordan Burch, Gilbert Edmond, you'd say, boy, next year, sky's the limit. Fortunately, the way it's working right now, those 4 are not there. South Carolina's not the only school that's been decimated or been hurt by the transfer portal. A lot of programs have been hurt far worse, but certainly locally we can talk about that, and we will continue to do that, as well as get into some college basketball stuff this morning. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The Halftime Show with Jay Phillips and Terry Ford.
I remember sending off Dave to join the KISS Army when I was in like the second grade. Is that about the same thing?
Similar, very similar, except you can do it online. Kinsiders.
Kinsiders.
They're sisters. They have VIPs, before, and you get to meet them, and they sign your stuff and all that, and you get to hang with them and, talk to everybody in the band.
They shook Dave's hand. He hasn't washed his hands since.
I pull my shirt down, give him a Sharpie. Here, sign my chest.
sign my chest.
All right. See, this is my fault. I usually want to blame other people for things. This is my fault.
Noon to 3.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Still working an earlier incident, the car versus deer. That is Clemson Road between Hardscrabble Road and Longtown Road. Also an accident, Augusta Highway near Fontaine Roads. Be careful out there this morning. It's going to be nice today. Sunny, 68, 59 tomorrow, 61 on Saturday, but it's 52 right now. 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has everything you need to get organized this year at amazing savings. Right now, get up to 50% off select folders, file cabinets, file boxes, and storage bins. In-store only offer ends $128. Make this year your year with Staples, the working and learning store.
One search engine is used by 9 out of 10 consumers. Hint, the name begins with a G. And there are hundreds of things that go into being ranked highly by that engine. Your website, your business profile, even your social accounts. A couple of slip-ups and you find yourself on page 7.
Yeah, I'm not what
At
everybody
Cumulus
wants to see
Boost,
on the radio for a reason.
experts and resources to fix what's wrong and boost your findability so you can rank higher than your competition. Get started today at cumulusboost.com. CUMULUS boost.com.
I'm starting the new year by making my home feel like new with the advanced cleaning of Zerorez. Take advantage of their New Year sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online.
So now I can talk about Bill.
I've got the live stream up right here.
Yeah. So you can hear me if I'm talking about you. But, oh man, now he can hear me if I'm talking about him.
I can hop on the live stream. It's just the camera. I don't know if you see it. No, see, on my computer, it's just spinning. I can hop.
Oh.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. They
See,
can.
it's just spinning. For some reason, the little camera is not popping up. So everything's. It might be a good. Maybe I wore too many sponsor stuff. Got my Flying Axe hat on this morning. It was like.
That could be.
I can hear you. It's just
Okay. So I can't go on some kind of a tangent and talk badly about you. Or
preferably not.
anything. Okay. That's no fun.
I mean, you can. I mean, nobody's technically stopping you. All right, let's see if the camera comes up on the computer. It looks like another app is using the camera already. All right, so let me.
Oh, was that from a special live stream you did earlier or something?
No, stop. Hold on.
Yeah, Larry, I don't think so. Especially these days. I feel like I need toothpicks for my eyes. Very tired.
I used to always think, hey, I'm such a good one.
Oh, man. I've got to learn to drink coffee more.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
I'm with you, Chuck. Now we can talk about Bill.
No, go ahead. I was turning the sound back on the live stream since I'm not a part of it right now. You're being asked to do more.
Oh, we got no sound.
You let everybody down.
I did. Doggone it. So I should probably
okay.
go home.
You probably should.
See,
yeah.
I didn't bring my A game just like that.
We
they
have a
didn't
third
bring
stringer
their-
now. See, you can't just threaten that anymore. Tyler
Right?
can just
Yeah.
head right
Sure, I
on
got
in
my
there. Yeah,
backup,
that's right.
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
how to push buttons.
There you
too.
go. Yeah.
I know how to push Bill's buttons too. Yep.
I'm
Pretty good at
learning
that.
that.
Got a backup now.
I know.
Their program's gotten so big.
I know. We're
But
that important.
That happened last night in down in Gainesville.
That's funny.
Again, really good night of college basketball. The one thing I took away from that, the SEC is extremely athletic. I watched a lot of that Georgia Auburn game. Auburn didn't shoot the ball very well, but Georgia's got some athletes on that team. Georgia under first-year head coach Mike White now 11-3 on the season, 1-0 in conference. Auburn falls to 11-3 overall, 1-1 in conference. Gamecocks and Auburn will hook up on January 21st here at Colonial Life Arena. We'll continue to talk about that. We'll continue to discuss the Jordan Burch situation, but more loyalty in college sports now? What does it mean? Like, are you playing for the name on the front of the chest, or are you strictly about the name on the back of the jersey? Is that where we are at, especially in college football, where we're seeing these kids make a lot of money? It's kind of
And it surprises me that there's not something like non-competes and things like that, like you have in the broadcast industry.
you feel like these national letters of intent, the contracts they sign to come to a school, something could be changing a little bit about that. I'll get into that. A couple interesting articles on the internet yesterday about college football. A lot to get into. Hour 2 on the way. It's the early game. 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
A Cumulus media station.
Ramjack Foundation Repair specializes in one thing: the science of foundation repair. If you notice cracks in your brick or sheetrock, a chimney pulling away, or have doors and windows that are misaligned, contact Ramjack for an on-site evaluation. We aren't roofers, part-time contractors, or plumbers. We're foundation repair specialists, trained to provide you with permanent, affordable solutions. Schedule your on-site evaluation today at ramjack.com. That's ramjack.com.
Thanks. Yeah, I just still feel like it shouldn't be the schools with all the money win. I mean, some kids maybe academically do better in a smaller school, but if they want to play at a good school and a competitive school and get their, as far as the athletics are concerned, I don't know. I just feel like money shouldn't be everything, and that's probably very Pollyanna of me. And I was serious about the non-compete thing. Like for broadcasters, we can't work if I would leave the early game. I can't work anywhere within like a 50-mile radius for a year, which is kind of nonsense. But by the same token, okay, so why shouldn't that be something for athletics? Okay, why do we have 2 legal IDs? Hi, Perry Orth at 7:30. Brian Edwards at 8:15. And I get it. The money is important in a lot of situations. It's very helpful for their families. I get that, but I just don't think we have there needs to be balance, I guess. I had no talent, so I didn't have to worry about NAL.
The computer's not worked. The text line has not worked, but I'm glad that all of you are here with us.
107.5 The Game.
Rolling along on a Thursday morning, January the 5th. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head, as we get you up. Jen already threatened to leave. We've already informed her. That's why we brought Tyler in as a backup. You can't threaten me anymore. Got Tyler here now.
Well, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
threatening to
Oh,
leave
yeah.
is in, like, "Oh, well, you better be nice to me." No, I just mean, okay, if things aren't going well, I'm just gonna
You
leave. I do
better
have a
be nice to
backup. You're right.
me. Better be nice.
I
Santa
figure,
Claus in here.
yeah, something like
I
that.
am wearing
Hey,
my red today. 803
so
404
jolly.
6100. Speaking of which, we will get next week. Next week, the countdown is on. NASCAR season. Next week, we'll get Kerry Tharp
I know.
back on to start previewing NASCAR
So
season.
excited.
We've got kind of our other sports, NASCAR and PGA Tour, get
and-
going here in a few weeks. PGA Tour tonight.
And I'm actually excited. I won't be here around the 4th of July. Well, just, for a couple days. Like, I'm not quitting at the
Wow.
4th of July or something.
Really
I guess I should
planning
say.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, because for Christmas, I got a pair of tickets to go to the Chicago race.
Okay.
When they race in downtown.
That's gonna be really interesting.
How about that?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's going to be just an unmitigated disaster for the people in Chicago.
Oh,
I
yeah.
respect that. But I'm kind of, and I suspect it's probably going to happen once, because I think that people
They-
are going to complain.
They signed a 4-year deal, if I remember correctly. It's
Yeah.
supposed to happen for a few years, but we'll see how the first one goes.
I was going to say, I know that it's supposed to be there. I just have a feeling there's going to be some balking because, they're going to have to shut stuff down
Didn't they do that last
2
year?
weeks in advance.
The street race was Nashville last year?
Yeah.
I remember very well, of
So
course.
that's IndyCar that does
Sure it is.
Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I only pick the winners. I don't pay attention.
I got
Just
you.
that's the
He only
knowledge that
picks the
comes.
winners. That's why he lost
That's
last year.
I did last year. Last year was my injury plagued 2022 season. So we will get back to NASCAR here next Thursday when Kerry Tharp will join us a little bit to start previewing. Let Jen and Kerry start previewing that. I know Jen's excited about that. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 is how you can do that. A lot of you are doing this, obviously talking a lot about loyalty. The report coming out, if you're just kind of hearing it, the report coming out last night. Now, nothing's official, so nobody go run and jump on Twitter and start yelling at any particular player or anything. This is all just being reported. But J.C. Sherbert of thebigspur.com reporting that Jordan Burch will likely enter the transfer portal. We'll kind of monitor that today. Obviously, if it happens, it'll be something we'll discuss a great deal more as it pertains to Jordan Burch. But people are already speculating, and some of you weighing in on Jordan Burch this morning. Scott saying, I imagine Beamer's doing everything he can to get some dough for Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells to say Burch might be floating this to some leverage for something himself, too. Seems fair to me. And also points out Burch was one of the highest rated recruits to ever commit to South Carolina. That's true. Thomas from Camden asking what he caught the end of the Burch conversation. What is going on? Well, again, all that we're reporting right now is what all we're reading. None of us here are reporting this, is what J.C. Sherbert of thebigspur.com, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central have validated the same thing, that things right now appear to be trending toward Jordan Burch entering the transfer portal. I'll say it again. The only reason that I would say I'm really shocked about it or surprised is because Jordan Burch is a hometown kid. And I don't know, aside from the NIL money, I don't know what the benefit is to going anywhere else for 1 year. Jordan Burch, if he was drafted, would be a very late round draft pick, 5th, 6th, 7th, probably closer to the end of the 6th, early 7th. There still needs to be a lot of development with him and how he's coming along. But it's more of being the local hometown hero. We talk about that. G.G. Jackson, one of the big reasons he's here at the University of South Carolina is to be the hometown hero. Regardless of how basketball season finishes for the University of South Carolina, people will always remember G.G. Jackson for staying home, for being able to go down to Colonial Life Arena, being able to watch him. If you want to go this coming Saturday at 3:30, we'll give you a chance to win a pair of tickets here this hour. G.G. Jackson will be able to walk around this town for the rest of his life. Doesn't matter what the record ends up being. He will be the kid that stayed home and was kind of a local hero. B.J. Mackey, everybody loves B.J. Mackey because at Irmo, he did the same thing. And then obviously he led South Carolina on to some great years there under Eddie Fogler. But to go back to the coaching search, B.J. Mackey, if B.J. Mackey had maybe come from, say, I don't know, Atlanta or Charlotte or somewhere in Florida, I don't know if people would have been clamoring for him to be the head coach back in March. But he was the local guy. He stayed. B.J. Mackey can walk back into this town at any time he wants and get whatever he wants because he's the local guy that stayed. Alex Huntley the defensive lineman from Hammond. He will be remembered as a local guy. DeCarrion Joyner is going to be maybe one of the biggest, I say, celebrity football players for South Carolina to come out in a long time, because DeCarrion Joyner has persevered through a lot of things where we wonder, maybe he should have been a quarterback. Maybe he should have been played more. Maybe he should do this. And DeCarrion Joyner is making money. Let's be clear about that.
Right.
But DeCarrion Joyner is sticking with South Carolina and trying to help continue to build this football program. And when DeCarrion Joyner graduates, if there ends up not being a career professionally, DeCarrion Joyner is going to be able to come back to Columbia, South Carolina, and walk into any restaurant or bar, and people are going to want to shake his hand. They're going to want to take pictures with him. That's the part of it. And so with Jordan Birch, yeah, I get it. The career's not been necessarily what everybody had hoped for when he signed as a 5-star, but Jordan Birch is a local kid. He's a guy that would be remembered, especially if he stayed, as helping turn this program around, going from 2-8 to this past season 8-5 and whatever next season would be. That's the only reason it surprises me. That's the only. I get everything else, and I don't blame the kid. I wouldn't be upset with him. South Carolina's benefited from Juice Wells. They've benefited from Jordan Strong, guys who went to play in greener pastures or bigger names or whatever you want to label it. I totally get it. But 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. We've talked a little bit about that. Again, we've talked a little bit because to me, it's more of a parenting issue or a interesting parenting discussion. A lot of us have been there before on the USA soccer situation. And again, it's not so much about soccer. It's about how we would handle stuff as a parent. If you didn't see it yesterday, Danielle Reyna, apparently unhappy with how her son, Gio, was treated at the World Cup by head coach Greg Berhalter, reported a domestic violence incident that occurred not in 2011, not in 2001, but in 1991, a domestic violence incident that, as Tyler and I have said, I don't think police were involved in.
Yeah, so everything that I've read, there was no police report
Right.
filed or anything, no authorities contacted. It was just simply a situation that happened, and then they
not that makes it any better.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to like all of a sudden say, I'm just
domestic violence is domestic violence. There's no we're not downplaying that by any means, but the fact is there was no police report taken, so you're kind of going word versus word. He said, she said, which Berhalter did confirm that this incident did happen,
and said he
back
went
in
and
1991.
sought counseling for it.
But yes, he has been married to this woman now for, I believe, 25 years. Again, not downplaying the domestic violence side of it, but again, this is just kind of the facts of the case.
And it's not just her, Danielle Reyna. It's her husband, Claudio Reyna, who was a star for the men's national team as well. According to multiple sources, Claudio Reyna, the father of Gio Reyna, threatened to share allegations against Berhalter's past, basically for the way that their son was being used, the role he was playing for the national team in Qatar. Again, this isn't to me, it's not a soccer issue. It's a lot of us out there. You've been parents, you've had kids on teams. I remember the moment in my life where I thought I might be becoming that parent. My daughter was like 3 and was doing a dance, and they wouldn't let the parents walk up or watch the dance, watch the kids dance. And so I was standing around afterwards, and the teacher walked out, and I kind of just stopped her. I was like, how's she doing? Is she getting any better? Like, are we making any improvements? And the teacher was like, she's 3. She's liking it. I was like, and it said it so condescendingly that I went, yeah, maybe as long as she's having fun, it doesn't really matter if she's twirling properly.
But you were curious because you weren't able
Yeah.
to see what she was doing, so I can see the curiosity if you weren't able to watch.
But I mean, this
And
is
she's 3.
with your kids. I get it. You want the best for them. We get hurt when they're hurt. I still feel like this is a wild situation. And also, if you haven't really followed it, the Reynas and the Berhalters were close friends. They've grown up together. Like, their families have grown up together. Greg Berhalter has talked about watching Gio Reyna grow up and putting him out there, and how it felt like putting a son out there. And now you have Claudio and Danielle Reyna, like, basically trying to sabotage his career.
That's awful.
Because their son didn't get hurt. It didn't get to play. We'll catch up with Tony Annan more on the soccer side of it next week. But
Right.
I'm a parent You're a parent. How does this, like, it doesn't sit well with me.
It makes me wonder at what point did they remember this incident happening? Because if this happened 31 years ago, it's not something you're going to think about every single day, and you're probably going to go years and years without ever thinking about it. But whatever in the past couple of weeks, months, or maybe past couple of years, they thought this up and put this in their back pocket, knowing that if there was a problem, they were going to play this card, and now they have.
She has the Notes app, like in
Uh-huh.
her phone, and she just has been making notes for 30 years of evil things I can do just in case.
And if I'm a friend of these people, not in the context of soccer in general, it makes me wonder what dirt they have on me.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like how Jen thinks that they had smartphones 31 years ago, and she just started putting notes in there.
Yeah, get well.
Or was she just putting stickies on her
guess it
phone
wouldn't have been
for
30
30 years?
If
Yeah.
you handwrite like a post-it note, then you
Yeah.
can like scan it into your phone.
There
So
you
she's
go.
like going back through her like
Yeah.
desk or whatever
You
and find something she wrote back in 1991.
There you go. Like in Billy Madison, there was that guy that Billy ended up calling and apologizing to because he was mean to him in high school. And it was like, who? So he did because that guy had a list of people that he intended to kill,
Mhm.
So he crossed off Billy Madison's name. Like, okay, well, we're good now, so I don't have to.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. Alan weighing in on the Firehouse Subs text line says Birch's parents in his ear about NIL. Yeah, everybody's hearing the same thing. Trust me. He says hearing his done deal to Oregon. Jeff weighing in this morning and saying, is Birch gone? Well, again, let's be clear. If you're just tuning in, you're hearing us talk about Jordan Birch. His name is not in the transfer portal as of 7:13 a.m. What he's informed the staff, what he has decided to do, that might be two entirely different things. But as we sit here at this point, nothing is a done deal. And, it's a lot of speculation, but both Gamecock Central and the BigSpur.com reporting that it does look like Jordan Birch will elect to transfer out. And again, we're not here to knock Jordan Birch, but I am here to discuss a little bit about what it means for college football, because this one's a little bit different than maybe a lot of things we've encountered, and I'll explain why on the other side. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up
on the next Extra Point.
I think you're going to see some Bryles, run and pass game concepts. You're going to see some NFL stuff, and you're going to see tempo. And all those things, I think, are things that Shane Beamer likes and wants it to be about. We also know that having pro elements is something he's interested in. That checks that box. NFL experience. He is the hire. So now I think you have to judge him on what happens from this point forward as South Carolina's offensive coordinator, as opposed to, what happened in the past. Because in about an hour, it's going to be officially official.
The Extra Point.
With Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5. The Game.
So it says he was born in England. Oh, maybe he could play in the English team. Yeah, he could then. Jim, I can be on the camera. I just, for some reason, my camera is not working, so I've held myself out. But I could, I guess, be on the camera. Something's not right here with the live stream. I guess I could just hop on it. Yeah, I think he's got. I don't know if he has dual nationality though. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean his parents are American. He says he was born in England.
We make world-class products to defend our nation in a friendly, rewarding, and engaging workplace. Explore your next career at FNAmerica.com/careers. At People99 Health. Quitting smoking takes practice.
But eventually we'll have to see what Bill's wearing, like, his watch of the day, his coordination. Oh, so it's kind of blue, so it matches the hat, right? Is that blue? Maybe? Okay. So look at that.
We'll notify you when there's a challenge, and all you have to do is say yes to enter for your chance to win.
Yeah, they'll never know. They'll never know how good the watch. I don't understand what's going on there, because my camera on my computer, when I pulled it up to just look and see, it's something to do with StreamYard.
Oh, how weird. But yeah, I mean, like right now, he looks very patriotic. Like I figured, I kind of feel like I need to salute him because Bill has like the red pullover. He has red, white, and blue hat. And it's royal blue. The watch is royal blue. So he's very.
I got dressed specifically for. Oh wait, there's a having issues button. Let's try this. Oh, I have to send a message. I don't want to do that.
I'll let that.
Yeah, I've already done that, Craig. We've already rebooted. Everything shows is working properly. Yeah, it says the camera. I've logged in and logged out multiple times. Ah, well. It's fine. Don't need to see me today. Do a quick segment here and then get to a long segment with Perry. Oh, we got a phone call. We'll take that.
I love this story. Katrina going to A&M.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to turn the moral fiber of that organization around.
We'll get in that. Remind me about that 8 o'clock hour.
I'm a Falcons fan. I'm not fond of Bobby Katrina.
The early game
with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
$7:21 on your Thursday morning. I tell you what, Jen, right now, let's give away a pair of tickets to the women's game tonight. 7 o'clock tip-off at Colonial Life Arena. We'll take caller number 6 on the phone lines, on the Love Chevy phone lines. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us and win a pair of tickets to tonight's South Carolina-Auburn basketball game, as they will hook up a women's game over at Colonial Life Arena. We'll take caller number 6. Let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines real quick. We're going to make Jen multitask. James is up and wants to weigh in on Jordan Birch. James, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
we're just in a different world nowadays. And my question is, these athletes are getting more than I think it costs like $26,000 to go to the University of South Carolina. It takes about $100,000 for nutrition and facilities each year. So when they're signing a contract for a scholarship, these guys are getting a lot more than just tuition and room and board. And I think they've got to be held to that too if they're in the school. I mean, if they're able to switch around like that, are we able to get our money back? Is what I'm saying. As far as they're signing some type of paperwork too. There's got to be some type of rules and regulations that go along with this. I understand definitely. Each individual looks out for their best interest. As you know, we want Birch to stay. We're selfish because we want him to play here and do well, and he wants to get the best deal he can out of the situation. But somebody's got to come down with some rules and regulations. And furthermore, there had to be some tampering going on too. If he's already knowing he's going to Oregon, somebody's reaching out. That's got to be looked into by the NCAA on how to stop that kind of stuff to go on too. I mean, there's got to be some type of guardrails on this thing, or you got the average fan like me who's a half scholarship donor, you don't say, hey, I'll go put my money somewhere else. And then there's going to be no money for these athletes to have. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the phone call, James. There's a really good article from yesterday on CBSSports.com written by Dennis Dodd. It says rampant tampering, inducing of college football players has coaches unsure about best path forward. You can go and read that today if you've got time. Good little read. It starts with Jeff Traylor, the Texas San Antonio coach, who got pretty upset about two schools that he wanted to name, almost named, ended up not doing it, offering players on his team NIL deals, trying to persuade them to leave Texas San Antonio after the season. Neither player was in the transfer portal. Traylor put out a tweet about it, just asking the NCAA who he should report to. Basically, you can go and read the whole article. Tampering right now is more prevalent than not. We'll kind of see. Now, I want to go back to the Jordan Birch thing because Craig on our live stream and a couple of y'all weighed in and just said, well, this isn't a big loss. If Jordan Birch does transfer, yes, it's a loss. He was second on the team in sacks this year, 3.5. Tonka Hemingway was the only player ahead of him in terms of sacks. Jordan Birch was third on the team in tackles. I want to address this real quick, Tyler, because Jordan Birch was getting better.
Right.
He was getting better. This was his best year so far. And honestly, that's what development, I know he was a 5-star, but that's what development's all about.
Sure.
He was getting better. His best year, you were looking at him as being a starter on the defensive line. If you think losing Jordan Birch is just, we'll replace him with whom?
Right.
You've already lost your other starting defensive end in Gilbert Edmond. Terrell Dawkins has been injured. You say, well, let's go to the portal and find somebody else. Oh, okay. Well, then you got to get him in here. He's got to learn the system. You got to develop him a little bit. You got to build him up. I look, losing Jordan Birch is, I get it. The statistics don't maybe tell the name of the game. And yes, he still needed to develop more, but don't shrug this off as like, oh yeah, we'll go find another warm body. But no, Jordan Birch is a good player. And this was his best season to date, and he was getting better. Again, let me read the statistics. 60 total tackles, 32 solo, 28 assisted, 3.5 sacks. Losing Jordan Birch, losing Marshawn Lloyd, losing Jaheim Bell, and losing Gilbert Edmond. Edmond this year had 39 total tackles, 2 sacks on the season. These are losses, and that's what stinks the most is because, you could get a guy like, you say, well, we'll replace him with hypothetically, Desmond Zulu, who just had a really good All-American game, really good Under Armour All-American game this past week, and is now on campus. Saw his Twitter account yesterday, and he moved in and looks good. If Yumi Zulu has a good freshman season, who's to say Ohio State doesn't look at him and say, you know what?
Sure.
We recruited you. Come on back up north. That's where we are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just looking at, the most recent game that we have on Jordan Birch, maybe the stats don't really tell the story, but he was in the backfield a lot, putting a lot of pressure on Tyler Buckner. So, given the fact that, there's a lot of pieces that were missing on that defense there, he certainly played a very good game in the Gator Bowl. But yeah, it could just kind of, I guess it's kind of the tip of the iceberg to where if this can happen to him. It can happen to anybody. And like you said with Umazulu, there's no reason to think that it couldn't happen to him after a year or something like that. So I guess Pandora's box is kind of open here.
Well, again, because it used to be where you'd see a development of Jordan Birch and you'd see a development of these particular players, and you go, man, look at what we got coming in. And man, I can't wait to watch them develop for 2 or 3 years and imagine what they are by their junior or senior year. And that's going to be our defensive line, or that's going to be our offensive line, or, imagine this quarterback with that wide receiver after 2 years of experience. Well, now, again, you look at this recruiting class, really good recruiting class. And this is not just, we're using South Carolina as the example, but you look at this recruiting class and you say, oh, it's a really good recruiting class. Well, what if Xavier McLeod has a big year and says, you know what? I can get better money elsewhere. I'm out of here. What if Marquis Anderson, who we had on this program, who's a really good player, comes in and all of a sudden, I don't know what the going rate on NIL for an offensive lineman is, but what if somebody does that? I guess that's the point. You used to get really excited about your recruiting class because you thought about the development of the program.
Right.
Jordan Birch was developing. Jordan Birch was developing. The statistics back that up. He was becoming a better player. His time with with Sterling Lucas there at the defensive end position, he was getting better. And who knows what another off season with Luke Day, another spring practice, another season, what he would have looked like. We'll see. Again, just FYI, Jordan Birch is not in the transfer portals. We're reporting this, but last night, thebigspur.com and Gamecock Central both reporting it. Let's get one more phone call in before we get out to Perry Orth. Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm thinking about this situation with Birch and the NIL and everything. I guess it's to the point now, especially in big-time college football, you're the coach and the fans and everybody that's behind the team. You almost have to look at these players as assets as opposed to just, players, college kids or whatever. And I guess at the end of the day, you got only so much NIL money in your coffers, and you've got to decide where are you going to put that money towards, or that NIL money towards it. I guess if it takes the majority to keep, Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells, and maybe, we're going to not have as much NIL money for these other guys, it's going to create this effect. But I guess you have to decide where do you want to put the NIL money to? What's the most important thing? And I guess it's always going to be your quarterback, and in this case, our top receiver. But God, I hope we can somehow keep Jordan Birch, because he got so much potential. He's just an awesome player. But I was thinking, the coach at Oregon, Bill, didn't he used to coach at Georgia?
Correct. Yep, Dan Lanning.
So he probably recruited Birch, and I know he has Bo Nix, and he probably tried to recruit Bo Nix as well. So, God, there's underlying a relationship there as well. So, just kind of want to throw that in, but thanks for letting me talk, guys.
Appreciate the phone call, Ray. 803-404-6100 will continue on the Love Chevy and Firehouse Subs text lines. But next, we get out to Perry Orth. He'll join us. We'll ask him a little bit about it. It seems so much has changed. And, God, it wasn't that long ago when he was in college. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. In your car. Online. On the app and streaming on your smart speaker. 107.5 The Game.
Just a couple things to let you know about on the highways this morning. Gervais Street near Hugie, there's a report of a deer crash, so be careful crossing through that intersection. I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road, there is a report of an object on the roadway. And the rain is gone. That's a good thing. Mostly sunny today. 68 for the high, 59 tomorrow, 61 on Saturday. It's kind of nice right now. Sun's coming up. It's 52 at 107.5 The Game.
Spectrum Business is the no-nonsense way for small businesses to stay connected. Spectrum delivers the fastest internet speeds in the nation, and Spectrum Business Connect is the all-in-one app to make calls, host video conferences, and send texts from any device, anywhere. Get both and get one mobile line free for 1 year. No contracts, no hidden fees, no nonsense. Just business. Visit spectrum.com/business today. Restrictions apply. Services not available in all areas.
Approved credit and bank determined down payment. Call 866-243-4623 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991
when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Jeep Ram in Lexington has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Jeep or Ram of your dreams. JT's Jeep Ram Lexington, jtsjeepram.com. Start something new sales event.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Mid-State has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them, Mid-State twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on, you can do it with the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Let's start slow with the crust. We'll hand toss that spring water dough just for you. Then add the freshest ingredients and serve it hot. Now, lift it, you're doing it. It's a change of pizza lifestyle. Happy New You from the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right, we'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929 for more details.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Rolling along on a Thursday morning, January the 5th. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head, as we carry you into what should be a very nice Thursday. Sun is out. Should be a little bit warmer today. Joining us now is our quarterback of the program, Perry Orth. And Perry, I'll just lead off.
Well, hold on, we're busy talking.
Oh, okay. Perry and Jen are catching up on Christmas gifts and baking recipes and anything else as it relates to, because it's Jen's program. I'm just here to yap on the mic for a couple hours. Are we ready now? Are you two done?
Yes, we're done. We're, having to kind of catch up and see how the holidays were and all of that. Talk about the cold weather that we had. So
they do. When you two do that, it does offer us extra time after the it is like soccer. It's like soccer. There becomes extra minutes. The referee will blow and we'll blow the whistle and we'll go into Pearson's show now because you two spent 2 extra minutes talking about your favorite recipes.
I'm so sorry.
The early game stoppage time.
How you doing this morning, Perry? Man, hope you had a great Christmas and a happy New Year.
Yeah, that. No, I hope you did as well. It was good. We went back home to Jacksonville and then actually stayed the week and went to the bowl game. So it was super fun. Had a bunch of family and some former players and teammates of mine. We all got together down in Jacksonville and had a really great time. Great game. Just came up a little short.
We'll get to the game in just a minute. You mentioned the former teammates, and I led this off as we were talking about you coming on the program a little while ago. I think, what is it? You've been graduated. You've been gone for, this will be year 7, I think. Year 6, year 7, is that right?
Yes, 7. Yep.
Do you and any players? That's not that long ago. It's really not. It may feel long to you, but does it feel like college football has changed? Just do you recognize kind of the offseason, the game, the way it is now, NIL, transfer portal, the way things are playing out away from the field? You watch the game, and you're not that far removed. How different does it feel to you?
The game itself, like actual football between the white lines, doesn't seem very different. But everything else outside of between the white lines is completely different. I was talking to Corey Helms about this a couple of days, actually may have been yesterday. Just, you've got kids that will put their name in the portal to see what else is out there and then return to their school. You've got kids that sitting out of bowl games that are probably not even going to get.
He was going to make a great point. I could tell that was going to be. I'll tell you what, Jen, let's do this. Jen, we got one break left in the hour. I'd like to have Perry around for a while. Let's hit the break. Let's get Perry back on. Let's actually have him talk to us, and then we'll finish up the hour. How's that?
That was kind of rude to me, but okay, we can do that.
You're a part of us. Just talk to all of us, not just you. Not be selfish. Let's get Perry back on, and we'll do that here in a second. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio.
And it's free.
107.5 The Game.
And I think I see what happened because even our live stream went down. So it kind of looks like we had a problem overall. So we will get Perry back for sure. But in the meantime, just want to let you know about Gervais Street at Hughes Street. Be careful. Car versus deer there. I'm just down the roadway, I-26 eastbound there at Bush River Road. 68 will be our high today and mostly sunny skies. A little bit cooler tomorrow, but still sunny. 59 for the high. It's 52 right now. 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot for Friday is $940 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
Life matters. Happy New Year, friends. There's nothing magical about the turning of one page on a calendar, but it does cause us to think. On the negative side, we're reminded that we won't be here forever. Sobering news, but the realization generally helps us live smarter. On the positive side, we have a New Year's mindset. There are no guarantees, but the year begins with confident expectation that things will be better, that we will be wiser, and we will finally catch those elusive dreams. I think wisdom tells us that we need both perspectives. All of us are getting older, but we also have the opportunity to live in such a way that this year can be better than the last. This is Stephen Chitty from Christian Life Church in Columbia. Whatever your approach, it's important to remember that life matters, and so do you. Go to clcolumbia.com for in-person and live streaming service times.
With COVID-19 still present in our community, the South Carolina Department on Aging hopes you and your loved ones stay safe during this time. We encourage older adults, family caregivers, and adults living with disabilities to learn more about how the COVID-19 vaccine can help protect against severe illness or death. For more information on how to keep you and your family safe, call the national hotline at 1-800-232-0233. That's 800-232-0233.
Credit determined down payment. Call 888-320-6359 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Kia has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Kia of your dreams. JT's Kia on Killian Commons Road. JT'sKia.com.
No one likes to talk about the injuries, pain, disability, and lost loved ones that result from terrible car and tractor-trailer accidents. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're honored to be the lawyers our clients rely on during their toughest moments.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When work injury disrupts your life, I work hard to get you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
Well, then we'll bring the U-Haul.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The early game
With Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the the Gamecocks.
The early game, 107.5.
The game.
7:42 on a Thursday morning. Let's try this again.
That was weird.
Everything went down. The whole internet situation here. But we're back, and we're good to go. Perry Orth back on with us. And Perry, you were in the middle of a great point. You were talking about talking with Corey Helms just about players these days and how different it is from when you were in the locker room.
Yeah, and not being in the locker room, I would love to know the dynamic of it. When I was playing, nobody was sitting out a whole game.
Awesome. That was a
and
huge win.
if you were, basically a lock or close to being a first round pick, and the bowl game was really, really minimal. But then it really ramped up about 4 years ago, and then now it's like, if you want to play in the NFL, regardless of your projection, you're going to sit out of your bowl game. It's almost like a cool thing to do. I get both sides of it. And I think we talked about this maybe 4 years ago. And I think the first person that we really discussed this about was Debo. And, cause he sat out of whatever bowl game that was. But, I kind of sit on both sides of the fence when, you've got a guy that's projected first round or early second round, and the bowl game, you're 6-6 playing in a relatively meaningless bowl game. I do understand where people come from, especially when people don't come from anything and there's the opportunity to make millions of dollars. I also understand it's your last opportunity to play with some of your best friends in college and represent your school. And, I loved the take that Nick Saban had on it when he said, you create value for yourself by playing football versus training. Now, I understand that, you do have the inherent risk of getting hurt and hurting that draft stock and all that good stuff. And it's certainly a risk that you are willing to take, but you definitely help yourself by playing football, especially for the people that aren't guaranteed first rounders. If you're a projected fourth rounder, you could go out and have an electric bowl game and a big, because a lot of times if you're playing at a school like a South Carolina, like that was a big bowl game. Like there was 65,000 people on ESPN. Like if you go out and you have an electric game, like you could help yourself in a big way by playing. But it's just different of the mindsets of the players. And I tell you, it really puts a strain on the coaches. They get paid handsomely, but I tell you, they earn every dollar that they make through dealing with all this mess and prepping for a bowl game. And in reference to South Carolina, I mean, talking to a friend last night, there were some numbers on defense that I had never seen before out there. And they were having to give it all against a really, really good Notre Dame front. And, it really, really does hurt the team when you are one of the better players and you decide to opt out, especially in a position group that doesn't have a ton of depth. It can put a strain on the rest of the guys. So it's an interesting debate. I don't think it's not debated nearly as much now because it's kind of the norm. But the NIL stuff, just throwing your name in the portal and seeing what happens and being like, oh well, I guess I'll just go back to school. That's just a weird deal.
How do you think it would impact the locker rooms that you were in if you have players? There were some obviously really good players that you were around in 20. You enrolled in 2013, 2014. Obviously, some again just going back, and Dylan Thompson was a guy who I would imagine, because of who he was, and then obviously some of the plays he had made, I would imagine would have been a big NIL guy. Mike Davis, Pharaoh Cooper was a guy that was doing a lot of good things. You go back to those years, Perry, and what you remember. How do you think that impacts the locker room when you see guys like, you see a Marshawn Lloyd leaving supposedly because he wants more NIL money, Jaheim Bell leaving because he wants more NIL money. I think we always thought, okay, this will just kind of work its way out like it does in the pros, but college is a little bit different. There's guys who, as you just said, are coming from nothing and still trying to survive.
Yeah, that's right. going back to what you were saying about some of those older players, I don't think NIL, at first, some people thought NIL was going to cause issues, and it still might cause like some internal jealousy issues, but I don't know if it like truly divides the team unless the person that's receiving all of the NIL is kind of gloating it and making other people on the team feel bad. It really just depends upon the person. I guess if the person's a bad teammate, they're going to be a bad teammate regardless of if they make a ton of money in NIL or not, and so I think that the NIL is might not be as big of an issue in my eyes as the portal, because when you can hop in the portal and not, it's NFL free agency without any guidelines or restrictions. It's like basically every year you can make yourself the open bidder. Like there's no guaranteed contract. I think that, I love the rule of waiting to graduate. You have to graduate before you can just transfer anywhere else, and if you do, you have to sit out a year. I thought that was good, but I get the portal. What it meant was to give kids an opportunity that are truly in a bad situation, but then, of course, it gets abused, and so now kids are just bouncing all over the place. It's weird if you're a traditionalist, and because obviously 20 years ago this was never even a thought of what college football would look like, but it's interesting. It's going to become the new norm. I'd expect there to be some restrictions, especially some penalties on like some of the tampering that's going around of colleges contacting different people. Like they have, like even at South Carolina, I know that players were contacted by other schools saying like, hey, we can get you here for X amount of dollars, and they'll run to their booster club and wrangle up, a couple $1,000,000 and say, hey, we're here waiting for you. And the worst is when teams will promise you that, because it's going to happen. It happens every day. Teams promise you X amount of dollars and X amount of deals in NIL to come over there and play, and then you get there and none of it happens, or you get a quarter of what you were promised. They're gonna get kids to do kind of like a bait and switch. Like, hey, we'll just get them in, and then we're the school, we're the coaches, we're not responsible for the NIL. We were just relaying the message, and there are going to be people out there that do that. So, as a young recruit, you got to be really, really cautious of who you listen to and who you trust. And then with all the stuff too, it really causes or forces the coaches to be really good at coaching football. And then also they have to be phenomenal at building a culture to where people want to stay and be a part of. And I think that Coach Beamer has done a really good job. I think, you lost a couple of key players, but so has everybody else in the country. But, I'm not going to sit here and question people's characters. I just, would be hard pressed to understand when you're a starter and you're like the guy at a university in the SEC that you would feel the need to leave. I don't think that's a reflection on the school or the program. I think it's a reflection on the individual and maybe their family.
Again, he is Perry Orth joining us. A lot of good insight there, and a lot more questions I'd like to ask you as it pertains to that, but I want to move on to a few other things, one of which is a young man coming into the University of South Carolina that I know you've been very high on. I saw some of your tweets about it. Lenore Sellers out of South Florence, a quarterback who saw his stock rise dramatically. He flips at the last minute from Syracuse to South Carolina. What can you share with us? You being the quarterback guru, what can you share with us about Lenore Sellers?
I've never trained Lenore. I've never met him. But I have had the opportunity to watch him on film. And then I went to actually left my in-laws Thanksgiving weekend early to come back and watch him play against AC Flora right here in my backyard over here at Memorial. And he, I tell you, he completely took over the game. And it was so obvious. There was one that he was hands down the best player on the field that day for both teams, regardless of the side of the football. If they needed a 3rd and 8 and they needed a throw, he got the throw down. If it was 4th and 2 and they were running a quarterback power, he was getting the first down, and then he'd break free, and he had great top end speed. He was a really big kid, really strong arm, just completely took over the game. And if you look at his statistics this year. I don't have them handy or off the top of my head, but I want to say he threw for like almost 40 touchdowns or maybe over 40 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. I think he accounted for maybe over 5,000 total yards himself this year. Just an absolute freak of a kid. And then apparently he's a great kid. Apparently he's very smart. So he's got all of the intangibles, or at least on paper, that would make him be a really, really good quarterback. But, I might be getting overhyped here, overhyping him. But, there's a strong chance that when he gets here, he won't. I don't think he'll play over Spencer or Luke, but there's a strong chance that he would be the next quarterback after Luke Doty graduates, and potentially could push Luke, depending upon on Lenoris's development. He's that special of a player. Now, when I think we've talked about this before on the show, but when it comes to quarterbacks, you can never guarantee anything. Now, off of pure ability, as a kid, one of the best I've ever seen, no question. But is he going to come to college and end up liking girls more than he likes football? And that's a serious question. I mean, I watched it happen to a lot of the kids that came in with me. But or is he going to continue to make football priority and work hard and understand the plays and get himself mentally prepared, because he's got all the physical abilities in the world to play now. But how is he going to grasp it mentally? Is he going to, get in the film room? And because there's some things that you don't have to do in high school that you have to do in college, or else you're not going to succeed. So if he has the buy-in that everybody says he does and the work ethic that everybody says he does, I think that he will be a starting quarterback here at some point in his career. Probably sooner than later.
45 touchdowns, 2 interceptions this year, 2,900 yards is what he threw to, completed 58% of his passes. Let's stay on that for just a second, the quarterback room. There's obviously a lot of guys, whether Spencer Rattler is involved or not is to be determined, but you mentioned Doty. Colton Gauthier is there, Tanner Bailey, Braden Davis, and now you're going to add Sellers. Going back to your point here, and I got about 2 minutes left. Talk about how that does create competition to get with maybe the guy who does start liking the girls a little bit too much, or 5 Points is a fun place. But when you've got that many kids in there, talk about the competition that is created when you've got that many good players in there trying to compete for one spot, not a wide receiver spot like where you get 3, but one spot.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's amazing what Coach Beamer has done to the quarterback room, because I felt like for years it was freshman's going to play, and then he doesn't do well, so let's put in the next freshman. They've done a great job beefing up this room to have depth and have a lot of quality players. But yeah, when it comes to competition, I mean, it's when nobody's guaranteed the spot, and they're all a bunch of 4-stars and highly recruited and had great stats and in high school, and competition helps everybody. And if you have a great culture in your program, competition isn't a jealousy deal. It's I want to be the guy because I want to be the quarterback at South Carolina, but if I'm not, I'm going to do everything I can to support my brother and make myself ready in case my number is called, because very rarely do quarterbacks ever go during the season without getting banged up to where somebody else has to go in or whatever the case might be. But the depth provides competition. Competition's good for everybody, especially when you have a great culture. So, I expect big things out of the QBs here over the next few years. They've done an awesome job, and I think that they will get developed properly under Dowell Loggins, somebody who's been in the NFL, and excited to see what he does as the new guy taking over.
Real quick, just getting back together with your former players, got about a minute left with your teammates. Any good stories from the trip to Jacksonville?
Good stories. Not any that stick out, but I tell you, it was so cool being in Jacksonville, being in my hometown, and just seeing all the Gamecocks take over the Jaguar Stadium, and actually turning right back around to head to Jacksonville to watch my Jags seal the deal on Saturday night to get back to the playoffs. And watch out for the Jags, man. I know people get mad at me for supporting Trevor Lawrence, but I've been a Jaguar fan since I was 10 years old, and it's hard not to cheer for our quarterback, even though he did go to Clemson. So it is kind of a weird dynamic.
You know what that tells me, Perry? No wild stories, no great. You're getting old. You guys,
I am getting old.
Early beds, or a bunch of wives did a good job and limited the husband's fun. There was a bunch of good women down there limiting the guys.
I think it was the latter of those two.
Good. That's good to hear. Well, I'm glad you had a great time. Glad you had a great Christmas and New Year, man. I'd certainly look forward to getting you back on in the coming weeks. Appreciate all the insights you provided this morning. A lot of stuff for us to talk about in hour number 3.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks.
Take care. Perry Orth joining us. 2 interesting things he said there. 2 interesting things. One of them brought to mind. We'll try and get that audio up because I want to get back to something he said about coaches and now administrators kind of managing money. I want to get into that a little bit. We'll talk about a few other things. And Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider, set to join us at 8:15 this morning. It's the early game. 107.5 The Game.
WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus station.
With approved credit and bank determined down payment. Call 888-411-7640 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Dodgeland has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Ram or Dodge of your dreams. Dodgeland on Greystone, jtsdodge.com. Start something new sales event.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hello, I'm Roy Finley.
And I'm Dana Finley, owners of AAA Heating and Air.
South Carolina's crazy weather is hard on your HVAC system. If your unit is living on borrowed time, replace it now with AAA's best deal of the year.
AAA Heating and Air will give you an instant rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing with no money down and a 15-year parts and labor warranty.
This offer is for a limited time. Get 15 years of worry-free operation. A $1,500 savings with 0% financing with no money down for qualified buyers. Call AAA today at 677-1500.
That's a $1,500 rebate, 0% financing, no money down. Call AAA today at 677-1500.
Like the weather, this offer won't last. Call today and we'll install your new unit tomorrow. Call 677-1500. That's 677-1500.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
At Staples, you can count on every project being print perfect, guaranteed.
I need presentations and brochures printed, and they have to be perfect.
Your bounded presentations, brochures with the finest folds, and more will be done right every time. That's our Print Big promise. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more, plus 20% back by a store bonus. Try Staples and see the difference. Ends 2/11. Rewards members only. Bonus must be redeemed in store. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by the power of Love Chevrolet. Things are good and only getting better. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands. And we're ordering new vehicles every day. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads. The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
I'm not going to lie. When you go outside and you leave your key card inside and you get stuck outside, it doesn't make that's. I guess poetic justice is the right word for that.
I'm kind of laughing. I thought I heard knocking out there.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
The building does not open, I guess, officially until 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. So you have to have your key card to get in. So next thing I know, I'm stranded out there, and the security guard is, and so the security guard's not too concerned with letting the radio host back into the. Hey, buddy, you guys. So I'm out there shivering.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
107.5 The Game.
8:02 on your Thursday morning, final hour of the early game. A lot of really good stuff there from Perry Orth. Tyler's going to try and get some of that audio and get it to Jen so we can play back, because Perry said a couple things from a player perspective that I want to get back into, and we'll see if we can get that audio pulled here in the next 20 minutes. Brian Edwards coming up, a Vegas Insider, here in about 15 minutes. But, Tyler, some of the things Perry was talking about with kids entering the transfer portal, and how they kind of approach it now. Again, one of the things that I thought was very interesting, and I haven't, maybe I should have thought of it. He used the term bait and switch. And I wonder, and I wonder, because I do find it odd that Marshawn Lloyd, you haven't heard of him taking a visit. Like Gilbert Edmond took a visit. Gene Bell kind of knew where he was going. We're already hearing Oregon for Jordan Burch. And again, let's be clear. Jordan Burch is not in the transfer portal. It was reported last night by thebigspur.com and Gamecock Central that he was likely to enter the transfer portal. But let's be honest, at 8:03 as we sit here, Jordan Burch is not in the transfer portal. But Perry used an interesting term that kids obviously could be tampered with. You could have a school saying, hey, we'll come here and we'll get you the money. We're going to get you this X amount of dollars. Kid enters transfer portal. Typically speaking, you enter the transfer portal, you're going to probably upset your current team.
Sure.
And then you get into the transfer portal, and all of a sudden, that school who promised you the money goes, oh, it's going to be less.
Right.
It's going to be 50% less. It's going to be 75% less. And all of a sudden, that kid's out there. You've already upset your former team. Now your team that you were thinking of going to, he used the term bait and switch, and that was a great term. And I have nothing to base this on. I am just speculating. The Marshawn Lloyd is a really good running back.
Yes.
Okay. He would be a starter at South Carolina next year. And the way he was progressing, he very well could be 1,000-yard back. To say, oh, we're going to be fine without Marshawn Lloyd is just, again, being naive. The fact that Marshawn Lloyd, I know he's been mentioned for Tennessee and Georgia and a few other schools. I've seen it, Southern Cal. Those teams have still been active. I know they've had bowl games and everything. They've still been active in the transfer portal. They're still looking around.
Sure.
I just can't help but wonder if something like that occurred with Maryland or another program where they said, hey, we got this amount of money for you.
Right.
Because, again, the Marshawn Lloyd situation, I'm sure you followed it. You weren't with this station yet, but I'm sure you were following it. The days leading up, he's tweeting it at recruits.
Yeah.
At other recruits, saying he's tweeting at his buddy Big Tree Bob Light. He's tweeting at other people, hey, come block for me, come play for us, come play for us. And all of a sudden,
he seemed all in.
It was a complete 180.
Yeah.
And that term that Perry brought, and I want to get that audio and play it back, because I do find that interesting in this day and age where a program can say, we'll get you $1 million.
Right.
Come on in. We'll get you $1 million. And then you enter the transfer portal and they go, hey, sorry, we were only able to get you, say, $250,000.
And again, it goes back to the unintended consequences of having NIL, of having the transfer portal being kind of this, college sports free agency thing now. And it brings up the question of, how do you regulate this? Because it's easy to say, okay, we'll just make some rule changes to make sure this doesn't happen. But what links do you go to, and how do you regulate what's kind of essentially the wild west right now of college football free agency?
I do find that, again, this isn't in reference to any South Carolina players. College football players should go and do what they consider best. If Jordan Burch considers this the best, I do think that any of these players should still be considering their long-term future, not as it pertains to like coming back home, but as it pertains to how they're going to best get to the NFL.
Right.
If Jaheim Bell feels that the best way for him to get to the NFL and make millions of dollars and secure his family's future is by going to Florida State, by all means, young man, go and do it. Marshawn Lloyd, Gilbert Edmond, Jordan Burch, any player out there. If Spencer Rattler could have stayed at Oklahoma, if he felt the best way to get to the NFL was to come to South Carolina and try and ball out for a year, which was looking shaky there for a while, but obviously the way it finished is a lot better. Juice Wells, he felt the best way to get to the NFL is to come to a bigger name program, play in the SEC. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But going back to that point that Perry Orth brought up, I think that's very interesting. If you're going to listen to other offers while you're still on a team, if you're going to technically be tampered with, you better be careful, because once you enter that transfer portal, most of your teammates and your coaches know what happened. We, as fans, as media, may not know the whole story. But once you enter that transfer portal, your teammates, people in that locker room, the coaches there, they know what's happened. And it's really hard then if say, a school comes back and says, "Hey, I know we promised you this amount.
Sure.
Sorry, it's not going to be this amount."
Well, then that opens the door to sabotage as well. And, let's just say Florida is that team that offers you $1 million and then backtracks on it. Well, now, not only are you not going to Florida, South Carolina doesn't want you back. And then maybe you're out of the SEC to begin with. And maybe that was the plan all along. So, again, there's so many doors this opens and so many different ways you can look at this. And, we're still so early on in the NIL and the wide openness of the transfer portal. It'll be interesting to see how this develops over the years.
Let's let you listen to that. Jen's got it. Let's let you listen to that one more time here. This is Perry Orth about 15 minutes ago, talking about, if you're just tuning in, it was it's an interesting thought there as it pertains to the transfer portal and tampering. Here's Perry Orth about 15 minutes ago.
It's interesting. It's going to become the new norm. I'd expect there to be some restrictions, especially some penalties on like some of the tampering that's going around, of colleges contacting different people. Like they have, like even at South Carolina, I know that players were contacted by other schools saying like, "Hey, we can get you here for X amount of dollars," and they'll run to their booster club and wrangle up, a couple $1 million and say, "Hey, we're here waiting for you." And the worst is when teams will promise you that, because it's going to happen. It happens every day. Teams promise you X amount of dollars and X amount of deals in NIL to come over there and play, and then you get there and none of it happens, or you get a quarter of what you were promised. They're gonna get kids to do kind of like a bait and switch. Like, "Hey, we'll just get them in, and then we're the school, we're the coaches, we're not responsible for the NIL. We were just relaying the message." And there are gonna be people out there that do that. So as a young recruit, you got to be really, really cautious of who you listen to and who you trust. And then with all the stuff too, it really causes or forces the coaches to be really good at coaching football. And then also they have to be phenomenal at building a culture to where people want to stay and be a part of. And I think that Coach Beamer has done a really good job. I think
again, you hear that. I think that is very interesting stuff, and a lot of you are weighing in on the Firehouse Subs text line with contracts. We'll talk about that later this hour. We'll let you hear that audio again because it really is interesting. Let's get to the Love Chevy phone lines real quick. Brian Edwards coming up here in about 5 minutes. Bob wants to weigh in on the transfer portal. How you doing this morning, Bob?
Doing great. Hey, just wanted to let you guys know I was a college athlete in the late 70s, early 80s, and so I'm not at all agreeing with the state of college athletics. But when I graduated, I went to work for a company with, probably 20, 25 guys. And that company invested in me for 6 months, trained me, paid my salary, did all kinds of stuff to develop me. And I took a first assignment and I worked for about a year and a half. And a better job came along. And that's just what's going on right now. We have to invest and recruit these athletes, but there's nothing that's going to prevent them to go to the next opportunity they think is going to better themselves. So unless the NCAA puts some restrictions in place, the challenge that the University of South Carolina, like everyone else has, is to attract, develop, and retain the best talent and develop a culture that people want to be a part of. And until that happens, you're going to have the Wild West. So, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And it's just a different world right now. So thanks for taking my call.
No problem. Appreciate the insight. 803-404-6210. We'll get into a lot more of that this hour. But next up, we have to make some picks, or Brian Edwards makes some picks and tells us, or you, one of us, some of us, where you should look at this weekend if you want to make a little money. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider up next. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
The Halftime Show with Jay Phillips and Terry Ford.
I remember sending off Dave to join the KISS Army when I was in like the second grade. Is that about the same thing?
Similar, very similar, except you can do it online. Kinsiders.
Kinsiders.
They're sisters. They have VIPs, before, and you get to meet them, and they sign your stuff and all that, and you get to hang with them and, talk to everybody in the band.
They shook Dave's hand. He hasn't washed his hands since.
I pull my shirt down, give him a Sharpie. Here, sign my chest.
Sign my chest.
All right. See, this is my fault. I usually want to blame other people for things. This is my fault.
Noon to 3.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Things moving along fairly well out on the highways this morning. That is wonderful news. We'll take that. And the forecast is pretty good as well. Looking for a high today of about, what are we going to say? It's going to top out about 68 or so under mostly sunny skies. 59 tomorrow, 61 on Saturday. It's kind of cold and steady this morning, though. 51 at 107.5 The Game.
This is from our Science with CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Denver tops my Feeble 5. Interim head coach Jerry Rosburg, a seasoned sideline pro, made the Broncos practice in pads, and his focus on fundamentals actually showed. Arizona slides behind them at number 29. Indy appears as clueless as its novice interim coach. Jeff can't manage a 33-point lead Saturday. Last but least, Chicago and Houston bring up the rear, and they're looking forward to next April's draft. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Did you know that since 2002, more than 2.4 million lottery-funded scholarships such as Life Hope and Palmetto Fellow scholarships have been awarded to South Carolina students? Playing for fun is a win for education. Visit saeducationlottery.com/educationwins for more info.
I'm starting the new year by making my home feel like new with the advanced cleaning of Zerorez. Take advantage of their New Year sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Kia doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars, and he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Kia. Killian Commons Road, jtskia.com.
At Atkins Law, we understand the key to teamwork is trust. And we would like to thank all of our clients for trusting us when they've been hurt on the job. We love this community, and it's important to us to make a difference for people right here at home. We are also proud to support the Gamecocks in all their endeavors. Remember, be early and be loud. If you've been hurt on the job, who you hire matters. I'm Holly Atkins. Call us, 803-251-6406.
Ever wonder why your business doesn't show up on online search maps, but your competitors do? It's hundreds of things. Things that Cumulus Boost can identify and fix. And that's how we boost your findability. CumulusBoost.com. CUMULUS Boost.com.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone. I went through it a while back. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TIGER to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text TIGER to 321-321. That's TIGER to 321-321.
Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The early game with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen
On your home of the Gamecocks, the early game.
107.5 The Game.
$8:17 on your Thursday morning. We'll get back into that discussion. Some of the things that Perry Orth said, very interesting stuff as it pertains to NIL and transfer portal, and some of you weighing in on that. We'll definitely get back into that coming up here in about 15 minutes. Right now, let's go out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Our good buddy from VegasInsider.com, MajorWager.com, Brian Edwards, Vegas B. Edwards, joining us this morning to look at the final regular season weekend of the NFL and a college championship national game. And just real quick, man, the overs. I mean, last Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, two monstrous, fantastic games, Ohio State and Georgia, Michigan, TCU. Just as a college football fan, how did you consume those two games?
Oh, man, I thought they were great. I had a very small play on TCU, and I had the over as well. And then I actually added more on the over at halftime, which was at a number that was even lower than the original total, which, if I'm remembering right, closed at 56. And I think I had it at halftime once, it was adjusted. It was either over 53.5 or over 54.5. And then that third quarter just went ballistic. I mean, it wasn't as well played as Ohio State, Georgia, but it still did not lack for excitement or big plays. And then the obviously I had a huge bet on Georgia, so that one did not go well for me. But it was a well played game, and obviously another easy over. I didn't mess with the total on that one, and that was our best semifinal Saturday that we've had since the playoffs started.
That was absolutely fantastic. And now we move on. Let's go ahead and start looking ahead. Monday night, about 7:30, 8 o'clock, we will get Georgia and TCU, 13.5. It's a big opening number. The way TCU has played, and I feel like a lot of people are jumping all over TCU on this because, again, 2 touchdowns. Georgia's good. Ohio State, we thought that might be Ohio State might be the national championship game. We ended up getting a great one in the semis. Brian, this line just seems big to me given how TCU has performed the last several weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on TCU. So now the line is down to 12.5 at most books. I do see one more 13 left at circa. I grabbed that first day. I grabbed a little bit of TCU, buying the half point to 14 from 13.5. But I also played Tuesday. I played a little more on TCU plus 13. I think it's a little inflated, and we saw Georgia's defense really get exposed, and I think that Max Duggan is a baller. Really tough guy, can make plays with his legs and his arm. He did have 2 picks last week, but in the 12 regular season games in the Big 12 championship game, he had a 30-4 TDI-INT ratio and also had 6 rushing touchdowns. And I think TCU's speed and just overall skill players and athleticism, I think it's right there on Ohio State's level. And I think Quentin Johnston might be the best receiver in the country. So we saw Georgia's defense struggle last week. And I know they were up 35-10 at halftime on LSU, but LSU had moved the ball pretty well in the first half of that game. And even when Daniels went out, I mean, LSU's offense with Nussmeier, who I believe has only got, I think he might have got one start toward the end of 21. But, Nussmeier's not played a lot of football, and he was throwing it all over Georgia. Now, maybe they had let down a little bit because it was a little lopsided margin. But really, Georgia's defense has not looked that great the last couple of weeks. So I think TCU is going to be able to score. And now I worry about Kendra Miller, whether he's going to be able to play. But the backup running back, DeMarcado, was great, 150 rushing yards, 1 touchdown on 17 carries against Michigan. And Georgia could be missing Darnell Washington, who had 27 receptions, 426 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And they could be missing their starting offensive tackle, Warren McClendon. So maybe those injury situations are a little bit of a wash, or maybe even advantage TCU.
Let me ask on this. How much stock do you put in the fact that TCU won the Big 12 championship game on December 3rd and then had roughly 4 weeks, about right around 27 days, I guess, to prepare, 28 days to prepare for Georgia. Now you've got 8 days, TCU had 28 days to prepare for Michigan. Now you've got roughly 8 days to prepare for Georgia. Do you put a lot more stock in the fact that TCU had 4 weeks to kind of study Michigan to get ready? I know Michigan had the same amount of time, so, a little bit different, but now TCU, because would you agree, is there a talent difference between these two teams? And do you think that, if so, that less time to prepare for Georgia factors into this high point spread as well?
Yeah, I think Georgia's got a talent advantage, but TCU plays that unique 3-3-5 defense. So I think if there's a factor there, it's maybe Georgia having less time to prepare for a unique style of defense. I mean, I love TCU's defensive coordinator, and they did a good job against Michigan's powerful running game. Now, Michigan's kind of self-induced mistakes, particularly down deep in the red zone in the first half, helped. But and certainly the 2 pick sixes helped. But yes, I like TCU's defense. They've played better as the season has gone on, and they create turnovers. And Stetson Bennett was not immune from that. I mean, I know he only had 1 pick last week, but it was a pretty key one for those of us that were on Georgia as things kind of started unraveling on them there in the first half, which they rallied back from. But anyhow, yeah, I like TCU. I also like the over. Yeah. 2 of the nation's most prolific offenses. The over's hitting 3 straight for Georgia. The last 2 combined scores have been 80 and 83. Georgia averages 39.2 points per game. TCU averages 40.3 points per game. So the over's 8-5 overall for TCU, but one of the unders had 69 combined points, which would be an over with this total. So 9-4 in terms of going over this number of 63. So in fact, I don't know that I like one better than the other. I really like both, and I did a little reverse with TCU and the over.
Again, he's Brian Edwards joining us. Make sure you follow him on Twitter if you're not already, at VegasBEdwards is how you can do that. You can make sure you check out his work on VegasInsider.com and go and check out MajorWager.com. Make it part of your daily reading as you look for anything you might be wanting to wager on at night. Let's go to the final regular season weekend of the NFL playoffs just around the corner. I don't know how difficult this makes it for you when you've got Team Sam Howell expected to start for the Commanders. You've got teams just trying to finish out the regular season, maybe guys on particular teams who aren't making the playoffs who just want to avoid getting injured in the last game. Maybe you've got some guys trying to make a name for themselves and pick up a little bit more of a contract, but you've got one that you like here starting on Sunday, Bengals and Ravens. And this is interesting to me that you like the Bengals coming off of last week. Obviously, we know what happened on Monday night. They're back on the field. Baltimore is banged up. Bengals -7.
Yeah, so this is a kind of and by the way, this, last week of the NFL regular season is always tough, and you always got to, be aware of, who's motivated and who's not. Unfortunately, on this one, we're kind of in a little gray area, a unique situation where the NFL has not informed Baltimore if they still have a shot at winning the division. So they won the first head-to-head meeting, and if they win this one at Cincinnati, they would get the tiebreaker, but they would still be a half game back from the Bengals, and we don't know what's going to happen with the Bengals-Buffalo potential makeup game or not. But the fact is, regardless of all that, is Lamar Jackson's not going to play again, and the Ravens have lost 2 of their last 3. And, from an emotional standpoint, and a mental standpoint, obviously the Bengals went through a lot, as did, everybody that was watching Monday. But, physically, they didn't have to play a whole game. I mean, I wouldn't call it an open date, but, they didn't have the wear and tear on the body of 4 quarters of football. And they've absolutely been on fire. And in their mind, they're still alive for, potentially everything in terms of home field, depending on what Kansas City and Buffalo do. So, but even regardless of that, the Bengals have won 7 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. Going back to week 3, they're 11-2 straight up, 12-1 against the spread. Baltimore's lost 2 of its last 3 and is mired in a 2-5 against the spread slump. Whether we'll get any clarity on whether the Ravens can help themselves or not between now and Sunday is unclear, but it is a 1 p.m. kickoff, which kind of makes you think that they're not capable of improving their standing. So whatever the case, I would have liked Cincy anyway. I've been betting on Cincy like every game since October. And I had them the other night, and I'm confident they would have won that game had it been played out. Not that I'm suggesting it should have been played out, but you know what I mean. They were off to a nice start. Joe Burrow's been on fire, so I like the Bengals -7 versus the Ravens.
He is Brian Edwards joining us as he does one other game that he likes this weekend. And this is interesting. Pittsburgh, the Steelers, they started 2-6, Brian. They were 2-6. It looked like things were done in Pittsburgh. They take a bye week on November the 7th, and the next thing, or November 6th, and then the next thing you know, they go 6-2, and their only 2 losses are to Cincinnati by 7, and that Baltimore team we were just talking about by 2. They've kind of rolled along. They've won 3 straight, and you like them minus the 2.5 against Cleveland at home, Pittsburgh at home this weekend.
Yeah, so they need the Dolphins to lose at home to the Jets, and they need the Patriots to lose at home to Buffalo, and then if they win, they get in. But even if they're finding out that the scores on their other games aren't going their way, they're still going to be playing it out, whether they get in the playoffs or not. They're not going to be like, oh, let me rest Kenny Pickett. He's a rookie. You're getting him valuable experience. And Mike Tomlin, the ultimate competitor, in his storied tenure, has never had a losing season. And they're 8-8 straight up, 9-6-1 against the spread. They've won 3 in a row, both straight up and against the spread, and 5 of 6 straight up and against the spread. The Browns have been eliminated. The Steelers are more motivated. Steelers at home, laying less than 3. I like the home team.
College basketball tonight or this weekend, anything that just kind of stands out to you, or any other NFL games that you will be tracking here as we move through the rest of Thursday and into Friday?
Well, I'm pretty sure the Bucs, I don't know if they've announced it officially, I'm pretty sure they're going to rest Tom Brady and a lot of starters. So I'm going to go under 40.5 on the Falcons and the Bucs. The under is hit in 5 straight for Atlanta and 7 of its last 8. They're just not very good offensively. They've been held to 18 points or fewer in 7 of their last 10 games. I mean, even when they're in comeback mode, all Arthur Smith does is run the football. He's a horrible coach. The under's 11-5 overall for the Bucs. They average only 18.5 points per game and are going to be going, I'm pretty certain, with either Blaine Gabbert or Kyle Trask as the starting QB. And when these teams met early in the year, it was 21-15 for 36 combined. So I'm going to go under 40.5. I forget if I mentioned this, but under 11-5 overall for Tampa Bay.
There you go. Brian, we always appreciate you joining us. We'll get into some basketball and some NFL playoffs next week and recap that college football national championship. Good luck to you. And again, always appreciate you joining us each and every Thursday morning.
Sounds great, brother. Have a great weekend.
You too. Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards is the way to do that. Check out VegasInsider.com and MajorWager.com. Coming back, we'll get into this. Some of y'all wade into this. Contracts for college players. It's a thought based on something Perry Orth said and on the way NIL and the transfer portal is working. We'll discuss that a little bit. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. In your car, online, on the app, and streaming on your smart speaker. 107.5 The Game.
Broad River Road near I-20. We have a report of an accident there. Also, Killian Road at Farrow Road and Hardscrabble Road at North Brickyard Road, an accident as well. One more to let you know about, Coxbury Road at Old Church Road. And that forecast looking pretty nice for the next couple of days. 68 for the high today, 59 tomorrow. It's 51 right now at 107.5 The Game.
I'm Robert Pulliam, and my company, Pulliam Restoration, is Columbia's leading commercial water restoration company. Restaurants, hospitals, doctors' offices, multi-story office buildings, or even warehouses call us for their water emergencies. Our equipment is preloaded and ready to go anytime, day or night. We pride ourselves in getting to you in minutes, not hours. An emergency to you is an emergency to us. Remember, we're ready 24/7. Pulliam247.com or call us at 803-PULLIAM.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Jeep Ram in Lexington doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Jeep Ram Lexington, jtsjeepram.com.
I'm South Carolina head football coach Shane Beamer. My friends at the South Carolina Forestry Commission want your help in canceling wildfires this year, at least the ones caused by humans, which are about 90% of all wildfires. Careless outdoor debris burning, lax campfire safety, and improper vehicle and equipment use are the leading causes of wildfires in South Carolina. Please think before you burn outdoors. Let's cancel wildfires, South Carolina.
Sponsored by the South Carolina Forestry Commission, the South Carolina Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Ramjack Foundation Repair has been repairing foundation problems for homeowners and businesses for over 40 years. Foundation damage is serious and shouldn't be ignored. Considering new floors or home renovations? Did you know foundation settlement can damage new floors, renovations, and even countertops? Remember, your foundation comes first. Protect your investment with Ramjack. Schedule your on-site evaluation today at ramjack.com. That's ramjack.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Woody Wyndham here to talk about Pioneer Tree Service, Guy Gant's company. Guy Gant's not with us anymore, but his girls are the Gant girls. You know, Chelsea and Madison. You know some of the things they do at Pioneer Tree Service? Tree and shrub removal, tree pruning and thinning, tree planting, tree bracing, raising tree canopies, stump grinding removal, storm damage services, property cleaning and grading, demolition and rock removal, right-of-way maintenance. You got to get in touch with these people. 803-794-8253. Let me give you that again. 803-794-8253. Call right now and get a free estimate. For the most challenging jobs, Pioneer Tree Service. So you're going to want to call somebody you can trust, and that is the Gant girls at Pioneer Tree Service.
803-794-8253. Or find us online at pioneertreesc.com.
Call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Midstate has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them, Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Eight 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in this morning as we've got about 20 minutes left in the program. Big thank you to Brian Edwards for joining us there in that previous segment. He says take TCU and the over. The over is what he likes. Also likes this weekend the Steelers minus 2.5 against the Browns and likes the Bengals -7 against the Ravens. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Perry Orth joined us in the previous hour, about an hour ago. He had some interesting things to say as a former player regarding the transfer portal. And here's something he talked about in terms of being a starter on your team, with your teammates, with your friends, being a starter and then electing to transfer out.
I'm not going to sit here and question people's characters. I just, would be hard pressed to understand when you're a starter and you're like the guy at a university in the SEC that you would feel the need to leave. I don't think that's a reflection on the school or the program. I think it's a reflection on the individual and maybe their family.
I mean, Tyler, Jen, you hear something like that and he's got a point. And, this is Jaheim Bell's going to Florida State. It's closer to home. We don't know where Marshawn Lloyd is going to go. Gilbert Edmond is going to Florida State. It is closer to home. We'll see what happens this morning with Jordan Burch. There is obviously times that transfers make sense. Sure. Not every case is different. But as we go through this new era of off-season football with the transfer portal and the NIL, Perry makes a valid point. Jordan Burch is a starter if he does elect to transfer. Jordan Burch, by the way, is not in the transfer portal right now. Now, Gamecock Central and thebigspur.com both reporting last night. It does sound like that he will enter the transfer portal. It's something we'll monitor today. But it's not just at South Carolina. It's at Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. It's at Florida. It's happening across the SEC. It's happening at other schools as well. When stuff like that happens, not every circumstance is the same. But you do start to wonder how much tampering is going on in college football. What's being promised to these kids before they even enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, certainly. And I think one of our texters made this point earlier that, this could be a factor of also his, family having something to do with it. And we don't know. Again, he's not in the transfer portal, and we're still waiting on that to be confirmed officially. But, if Oregon's offering him $2 million in NIL or something like that, that's life-changing money, obviously. And that could certainly be a factor for wanting to leave a program where you are a starter in the SEC to go somewhere else. So there's so many factors to this, and I'm sure we'll certainly learn more as time goes on here with what Jordan Burch is going to do.
Marvin weighs in on our Twitter account. You can go to @1075 The Game. He says, trying to figure out how to be a college football fan in today's atmosphere is going to be difficult. I've always grown attached to our players. Now that's a thing of the past. They might not be here next week. And it's a really good point in terms of, look, you go, there's many of you, I would guess, that went down here to the local bookstore and you bought yourself a Marshawn Lloyd jersey.
That's exactly where I was going to go. If you're looking for NIL money, are people going to invest in your merchandise if there's a chance, hey, they're probably going to jump ship, so why do I want that?
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand the exact details of how the NFL works, whereas like if you I've never owned I own a lot of college basketball jerseys. Mm-hmm. I own them. By the way, with Alexa at the house, I'm practically saying on.
Oh, yeah, because you do say own.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. People have brought that to my attention.
It's okay.
On. But anyway, own. Have you ever owned an NFL jersey?
Oh yeah.
Tyler? Yeah. What would you own?
I have a couple Matt Ryan jerseys.
I've always wondered. I've never had an NFL team. Like I
Yeah.
like the Dolphins because like at the 5th grade book fair, I got a Dan Marino poster. That was
Right.
and there was no connection whatsoever. It was just, whatever you did, you collected school points or whatever, and I was able to get a poster and somebody actually had it framed and whatnot. But I've never understood like how you feel. Like my son had a Cam Newton jersey. Yeah,
Right.
got into Cam Newton. All right. Well, Cam Newton then is not playing for the Panthers, and you're like, well, that's a waste of I don't know whatever $60 or same thing with the with the NBA. My son's got Zion Williamson and I think Steph Curry as well. The bottom line is, if you went and bought, and I don't know if you put the name on the back, Lloyd, or if you just have the number 21. If you have the number 21, you go, well, hey man, it's a Marcus Lattimore jersey or
Sure.
a Nick Eamon-Wari
Yeah,
jersey.
it's a safe thing to have. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean there will be a new number 21 this coming year, but I do find it fascinating that you have these kids where again some instances make sense. In some, and I'll point directly to the one we know about. Marshawn Lloyd is now, after listening to that clip, being a starter. Marshawn Lloyd was going to be the feature back in 2022 as well. Was going to be 2023. He was going to be the feature back. And Marshawn Lloyd is, when healthy, a very good running back.
Right.
Okay. He was a big part of it. He's left, and at this point, I don't even know if he's taking a visit anywhere, if it's been reported. I haven't seen it reported anywhere. You do wonder because here's the other clip from Perry Orth earlier today that I think is really interesting. And catch the part we all know this, catch the part about the bait and switch. You get kids in the transfer portal, and you've promised them something, and then you come back and say, "Yeah, sorry, we're not going to be able to do that." Here's what Perry Orth had to say about bait and switch, maybe from certain coaches.
It's interesting. It's going to become the new norm. I'd expect there to be some restrictions, especially some penalties on like some of the tampering that's going around of colleges contacting different people. Like they have, like even at South Carolina, I know that players were contacted by other schools saying like, "Hey, we can get you here for X amount of dollars," and they'll run to their booster club and wrangle up, a couple $1,000,000 and say, "Hey, we're here waiting for you." And the worst is when teams will promise you that because it's going to happen. It happens every day. Teams promise you X amount of dollars and X amount of deals in NIL to come over there and play, and then you get there and none of it happens, or you get a quarter of what you were promised. They're gonna get kids to do kind of like a bait and switch. Like, hey, we'll just get them in, and then we're the school, we're the coaches, we're not responsible for the NIL. We were just relaying the message, and there are gonna be people out there that do that. So. As a young recruit, you got to be really, really cautious of who you listen to and who you trust. And then with all this stuff too, it really causes or forces the coaches to be really good at coaching football. And then also they have to be phenomenal at building a culture to where people want to stay and be a part of. And I think that Coach Beamer has done a really good job.
Again, the part he said, if a coach. Again, tampering. That's what it is. Let's be honest. That's what it is. If a coach is promising somebody and then all of a sudden the kid says, "Oh, I'm in," and jumps in the transfer portal and commits, and they get to school X, and then that coach says, "Hey, yeah, sorry, the booster changed his mind.
Sure.
We can only get you, 50% of what we promised, 25%, whatever." That's where I think Tyler, there's going to be a need for some due diligence in the process, and I don't know if you can protect them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's the unintended consequences of putting these kind of things in place. One thing to be cognizant of in reference to Marshawn Lloyd is the fact that the transfer portal closes on January the 18th. So that's 2 weeks from yesterday. So that's the 45-day window of being able to put your name in there and all that stuff. So if he doesn't get picked up by somebody in that time period, there's still the opportunity to come back to South Carolina. You just hope that bridge, hasn't been burned at that point.
It's burnt. It's nuked. It ain't happening. I would be last year. I didn't think Spencer Rattler was coming back. I would be more than confident based on what I've heard. Lloyd is not coming back, and he's still the portal closes only to have your name put in it. You can still pick and choose your school, so he could very well do that. But I would be shocked by that. 803-404-6100. Several of y'all are asking about contracts. I'll get into that a little bit when we come back as we wrap up the program. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up
on the next Extra Point.
I think you're going to see some Bryles, run and pass game concepts. You're going to see some NFL stuff, and you're going to see tempo. And all those things, I think, are things that Shane Beamer likes and wants it to be about. We also know that having pro elements is something he's interested in. That checks that box. NFL experience. He is the hire. So now I think you have to judge him on what happens from this point forward as South Carolina's offensive coordinator, as opposed to, what happened in the past, because in about an hour, it's going to be officially official.
The Extra Point
with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
ZR Water Technology. What exactly is it? I'm not going to lie. I don't know. What I do know is it has made my carpets, my rugs, my tile, my upholstery look cleaner than ever. It's kept them looking cleaner than ever. I'm just a simple sports talk radio show host, but what I can recognize is when my home is extremely clean, and with Zero Res, I trust them to do that, and they do it with their patented ZR Water technology. It'll keep your carpets longer. It'll keep it looking better longer, and it'll keep them lasting. That's a fantastic thing. And right now, you can get in touch with Zero Res and get their patented ZR Water technology that keeps your carpets, your rugs, your tile, your upholstery all insanely clean. Give them a phone call. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. You get a hallway clean for free. One thing I do know about that ZR Water technology, it doesn't leave a sticky, soapy residue. It's perfectly fine if I want to roll around on the carpet for a little while. If the kids want to roll around on the carpet, we had a whole bunch of kids up at the house the other day, and they were rolling around. And with the ZR Water technology, I can trust that they will not have any issues. That much I do know. I know it's advanced. I know it is perfect. I know it makes my home look absolutely phenomenal. So give Zero Res a call today, 803-262-4020. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus. When you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you get a hallway clean for free. Schedule with ease online, ZeroResColumbia.com, or give them a phone call, 803-262-4020. Either way, Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
And we do have a few slowdowns to let you know about this morning. Cox Ferry Road at Old Church Road. Also Hardscrabble at North Brickyard. I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road. We have an accident there. Kennerly at Broad River Road. Killian Road at Faro. Trenham Road at Decker Boulevard. An accident there. Also Broad River Road near I-20. And a report of traffic lights malfunctioning. Rabin Road at Flora Drive. 68 will be our high today, 59 tomorrow, 61 on Saturday. Sunny skies each and every day, and we love that. 51 right now. 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot for Friday is $940 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Dodgeland on Greystone doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars, and he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of. JT's Dodgeland on Greystone. JT'sDodge.com.
Hey, Gamecock Nation. Ben Cato and Matt Stedman from Cato's Power Equipment.
We are proud to be your family-owned dealership since 1984 for Aaron's, Gravely, Oro, and Steel Power Equipment. Come visit our showroom at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, located right outside of downtown.
We're proud to serve Columbia's landscapers, municipalities, and of course our everyday grass cutters trying to one-up their neighbor. We can't wait to help maximize your mowing experience. Give us a call at 803-254-3711.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game
with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Eight 803-404-6100. Just a few minutes left in this program. Talked a lot today about the transfer portal and NIL and maybe where it's heading. This afternoon, if you want, or today when you have time, Dennis Dodd has a really good article with comments from coaches on rampant tampering, the inducing of college football players, has coaches unsure about the best path forward. And there is Jeff Traylor is mentioned. He's the head coach at Texas San Antonio. Pat Narduzzi is mentioned in here after some accusations about last year, Southern Cal and Jordan Addison, also about Drake May. One thing that gets brought up in here, Tyler, is how you can change the national letter of intent, the NLI. Okay,
Yes.
national letter of intent. Fun to be different in NIL and NLI. And it is something where I think coaches, and I don't know if it's going to be the NCAA. I don't know if it's going to be college football breaking away from the NCAA, but what there could end up being is an evolution to the contract, so to speak.
Yeah.
The national letter of intent is a contract for kids. It's obviously been moved around a little bit, but if there are changes to it to say guarantee that a team or a guarantee that a player has to stick with a team for 2 years,
Right.
basically like similar to an NFL contract. That's maybe where it goes. I don't know exactly how this will play out, but you do feel that the national letter of intent may end up being changed to prevent the tampering where a kid has to be in school for, say, 2 years.
Right. And if you go with something like that, our high school athletes now going to have to get agents right out of high school to negotiate these kind of things, because I imagine there's going to be plenty of instances where a guy's at a school for 1 year and now wants to go somewhere else and is going to try and get out of that 2 or 3 year guarantee, whatever it is. So again, you're just kind of open the door to so many more possibilities of other things that are going to take place if that happens first.
In this article, again, you can go to cbssports.com. It's on the front page of the college football section. Dennis Dodd says there has been speculation that a collective bargaining is on the horizon, that a school could want a 2-year commitment from a player in return for a cash stipend. And it says presently schools are not allowed to directly pay NIL benefits. Again, it's going to be interesting how all this plays out, because I think Perry Orth made some really good points earlier this morning. We're watching the evolution of it. And let's be clear, South Carolina, in the grand scheme of things, is not being impacted in quite the way that other schools are. I mean, again, we mentioned it, both of us have seen it. Texas A&M has 27 transfers. Florida has upwards of 20. South Carolina's lost some good players. Right now, Marshawn Lloyd would be a starter next year. And you saw what happened in the bowl game when South Carolina didn't have I don't want to say a big-time running back, but a physical between the tackles running back. If South Carolina could have run the football in that bowl game, they win it.
Sure.
That's kind of the bottom line. It got to the second half, and South Carolina couldn't run the football, and Notre Dame said, fine, we'll just tee off on Spencer Rattler. We know you're not going to run it on us. We're just going to flat go after the quarterback. If Marshawn Lloyd is there, South Carolina probably wins the game. If Lloyd can just run for 50 or 60 yards and be a threat, just be a threat to run the football, maybe things are different. Gilbert Edmond, to me, is the biggest loss. I think his development, and that's the other part of this, is when you develop, when you put time into a player and you develop, and Gilbert Edmond was coming along, and he was developing into a very nice player. He would be a guy that we'd look at next year as being a big part of that defensive line and being a guy who can get to the quarterback. He's transferring. Still the weirdest thing ever that he wore his South Carolina gear to his Florida State official visit yesterday. That's all. It all goes into it. It's all part of it. Kudos to the players, Tyler, for being able to do what they want.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more to it than just a player being able to do what he wants. We will be back tomorrow, Friday episode. It's been the first full week of January. I know a lot of you are kind of struggling through the week as you get back into rhythm. But we will be back tomorrow morning. Chris Deering will join us. We'll talk about the high school basketball season. A lot of stuff going on. The Chick-fil-A Classic taking place last week over at River Bluff High School. We'll get an update on that. Also look at some of the other teams that are taking place. And we will get you ready for the weekend. South Carolina and Tennessee. I tell you what, right now, Jen, oh boy, I've messed up. Did we give away those men's tickets? We'll save them for tomorrow. We'll give away 2 pair tomorrow. That's another reason to tune in. We'll give away 2 pair of South Carolina, Tennessee tickets on Saturday tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. For Tyler Head, for Jen Jensen, I'm Bill Gunner. It's been a fun episode. We're going to take a 21-hour break. See you tomorrow.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station.
All right. Sorry, nobody's been able to see me. That's okay. We'll see if we can get that fixed. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Take care.